last week. He is a JC transfer.
Jack Riley is the new offensive coordinator here at Utah. He was the head coach at El Camino Junior College in California. Riley, some fantastic stats as a JC All-American last year.
Now, as far as running backs, two very, very good ones. We know about Reuben Mays and Kerry Porter, but it'll be Mays going against the man, Eddie Johnson, who's very, very good.
Johnson was the offensive freshman of the year last year in the Western Athletic Conference. He is very explosive, can catch the ball too.
Very quickly, let's go down to our man on the sidelines. That'll be Bob Romero for our game. Bob?
You talk about explosiveness, Don. Also a man to watch is Errol Tucker, the outstanding return man for Utah. Last week ran a kickoff back 100 yards for a touchdown against Hawaii. Back up to the booth, guys.
All right, Bob, it should be an explosive, fun evening, and I hope you'll stay with us. The Cougars against the Utes in just a moment. Cougars will receive. You can give us all the video or audio you want in our headsets. I'm just setting our audio level in our headsets. As much crowd as they can give us would be great. Nat sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, please have your attention in the event it becomes necessary to evacuate the stadium due to an emergency. Exits are provided at various locations on the perimeter of the stadium. Please identify the two things considered in your location. Next exiting, please immediately into a safe area away from the stadium. Linesman Tom Robertson, line judge Jim Peters, back judge Bill Schmitz, field judge Glenn Lee, and side judge Jim Saracino.
As you see the beautiful mountains behind Salt Lake City again, Washington State against Utah. I'm Don Poirier along with Bud Namick, Bob Romero down on the field in this live broadcast. Game number 4 for the Cougars in 1985. Washington State has chosen, rather, Utah won the toss, and they have elected to kick and defend the goal to your right as we take a look at it. And so Washington State will be receiving. Junior Tautalatasi will receive for Washington State, and a very, very fine kicker, Bud Namick. Andre Guardi will be kicking off. He has won 2 games in a row for this team, the Utes.
He's having a dream season, defeating Boise State and Hawaii on last-second field goals. Junior Tautalatasi right now leading the Pac-10 in kickoff returns.
The series started back in 1966. We are tied at 3 wins apiece. Washington State winning the last 2. And, of course, that Donnybrook 42-40 last year in Pullman. And we are underway. Guardi's kick down to the 3. Tautalatasi up near the 20. Has a possible opening, but has just tripped up around the 20-yard line. Had a lot of green in front of him. Had been able to get to the outside. So there is where Washington State will open up business on just beyond their own 20-yard line. Washington State, as we said, 1-2 after a tough loss down in Arizona, where they were able to only put 1 touchdown on the scoreboard, and their defense playing extremely well, not allowing any touchdowns by Arizona, but they got the 4 field goals. So 1st and 10 for the Cougars on their own 21-yard line. Rippon looks deep right away. Kittrick Taylor, and it is long after the double coverage. No flag down on the coverage by Errol Tucker, number 2, and wait until you see him later on punt returns and kickoff returns, Bud.
Leading the WAC and one of the top kickoff returners in the nation as you get a look at Mark Rippon.
Mark Rippon coming into this ball game, completing 58% of his passes, averaging 251 yards throwing per game here in 1985. Second down and 10, still on the 21. Michael James in motion. The quick pitch. Reuben Mays outside the 25 near the 26-yard line.
Tackled by number 45, Ricky Wilson.
Ricky Wilson making the stop, number 45, the cornerback. Now, as far as the Utah defense, you are well aware, Bud, that of course they do a lot of stunting. They take a lot of chances, so you're going to see some brilliant defensive plays and probably some severe mistakes by Utah.
They are a very aggressive team. The man to keep your eye on, number 46, Filippo Mokafisi. He is a very, very strong defensive player for the Utes.
He will usually go head up to the tight end, in this case on the right side. Third down and 5. The option. Mays has a slight opening, and it appears he might have the first down. We'll wait until the actual marking is done, and it looks like he will have a first down. So Reuben Mays going to the left side on the option for the first time, picking up good yardage. Again, the offensive line really the key here for Washington State. Jim Walden, with new people in there, wants to get the job done. That's really where the weakness was most severe against Arizona. Just underway in the first quarter. First and 10 for Washington State on the 32. This time it's Porter. Takes a pretty good hit, but still gets out beyond the 35 near the 37-yard line. Curtis Sampson in on the stop. Number 56.
Notice how in the early going, the Cougars have tried to move the football outside as much as possible. They tried to open things up with the long pass by Rippon on first down and tried to open things up on the outside. So far, it's worked pretty well.
We haven't seen the no-huddle hurry-up offense that they used in the first series against Arizona. Of course, everyone in the world expecting it, since it did work well at the beginning of that Arizona game, and Utah was certainly ready for it. James in motion. They give it to Reuben Mays, big hole up the middle, up near midfield to about the 49-yard line, where he is finally tripped up by one of the interior men.
Counter option this time by the Cougars, as we'll get a chance to take a look again as you see Michael James come in motion. The inside handoff this time, and Mays with some nice running room and was brought down from behind by Mark Jackson on the tackle. The Cougs have a first down at their own 49.
Jackson, the leading tackler for Utah, playing with a broken hand, by the way. First and 10 from their own 49-yard line. The Cougars on the move, first possession. Little quick pass over to Junior Tonto Latasi into the ball game, down to the Utah 40-yard line, and should be another first down for the Cougars. Jackson again involved, knocking him out of bounds. Nice little play. They ran the halfback out to the right side, little swing pass, Bud.
Something that we've seen the Cougars run with Reuben Mays so far this year very successfully. That is the first time Junior has had a chance to handle the ball on an offensive play from scrimmage, catching the pass for the first down.
Yeah, we normally see him on kickoff returns. In the backfield now is Kerry Porter along with Reuben Mays, the normal RPMs. Michael James in motion out of Tacoma. They go inside to Porter. Got a few tough yards, maybe 2.5 yards. To about the 38 of Utah.
Number 92 and number 46.
Block on that play by Mike Utley, the freshman out of Kennedy High School in Seattle, who is starting in place of Mike Schuster. As you see the Cougar wide receivers come in with the play call. Utley, Dreyer, Kurt Ladinas, Ian Lindner, and Bill Williams across the front line for the Cougars.
Keep in mind, too, you've got rather young people on the defensive front for Utah. The nose guard, really the only veteran out there, John Payton, number 92. Loose ball. And the guys in the red shirts don't look all that excited, so it appears that Washington State still has the ball, and Mark Rippon coming up with it. But Utah really has only one true veteran, that being the nose guard, and he was a little bit involved here. Rippon getting on the ball quickly.
Just never got the handle off of the snap there. That sets down a long 3rd and 9 for the Cougars.
3rd down and 9 from the 39 of Utah. Mays in the backfield. 3 wide receivers. Again problems, but let's wait and see. Evidently, it looks like either the ball is not getting back all the way to Rippon, or he is simply pulling out too soon, but there was no flag, no movement on the line, so it'll be 4th down for Washington State.
And we will see Glenn Harper to punt. I think what's happening there is John Payton, who is a nose guard for Utah, is lining up right over Kurt Ladinas, and I think he's giving Ladinas quite a pop.
Jim Walden down there talking, as a matter of fact, on the sidelines with Ladinas at this time. Harper out there to punt. averaging 39 yards a punt this time, going for the right sideline. And let's see where the referee puts it. Walks out to the 10-yard line. Coming up to the 15. Call it the 16-yard line. And that is where Utah will open up their offense against Washington State. Utah with 2 victories, defeating Boise State here in the curtain raiser, and then went over and defeated Hawaii. We'll be right back in just a moment. Back to Rice Stadium. I'm Don Poyer along with Bud Namick, Bob Romero down on the sidelines. No score here in the first quarter. We have 10:42 remaining. Utah coming up to bat their first time with a football. Again, the southpaw quarterback, Larry Eger, out of Redondo Beach, California, in his second start. This is Eddie Lewis going to the right side. He stands only 5'6", but look at Jim Krakowski wrestle him down for very little gain, if any at all. The linebacker for Washington State making the start. Actually, Brian Ford in there too, number 57, starting at the middle linebacker spot instead of Ben Carrillo. Ford playing extremely well in his 2 starts against Cal and Arizona. The offensive line, Hanson, Reach, Gary Anderson starting in center. That was a late change. And Isako Poti along with Logan on the strong side. That's the SG and the ST. Hager, Johnson, and Thurman Beard at the fullback. Even though we saw Lewis in there, you'll see a lot of all 3 of them. Second down and 11, a loss of 1. Hager to go upstairs for the first time across the middle. He has his tight end, number 99, Don Woodward, and he is up near a first down, just outside of the 25-yard line of Utah.
Something to keep an eye on for the Cougar defense to be successful against Egger. They're going to have to put some pressure on him. Egger was not sacked at all in completing 24 of 42 against Hawaii, and that'll be a factor. If he has some time, he'll be able to hit these gentlemen.
Lauren Ritchie, the leading receiver. James Hardy, a starter. You just saw Woodward getting the first reception for Utah here in this ball game. 9:43 remaining in the first quarter. No score. And it is indeed a 1st and 10 for Utah after that 2nd and 11 situation. Long call. Hager again to go upstairs. Has a safety man. Eddie Lewis has a screen set up to the left side. Has an opening outside the 30 to the 35. Now cuts across the grain and gets outside the 40. Fumble! Washington State football. Eddie Lewis, after a great effort on the part of his blockers and himself, getting up beyond the 40-yard line of Utah. Finally, the Cougars coming up with a loose ball. Rob Cleveland was in there, number 67, as well as, I believe, Eric Howard.
Eric Howard was in on the chase. In fact, he had a chance to wrap Lewis up in the backfield, but Isako Poti, number 79, did a great holding job that went undetected. See if we can pick up the hold here as you see Egger calling the signal and dropping back, not finding his primary receiver open, and finally dumping it off.
Back to live action, 1st and 10 inside the 45 of Utah. Rippon looking over to Kittrick Taylor. The collision there, no flags. It will go incomplete. 2nd down and 10 for Washington State. 9:13 remaining in the first quarter. Well, we saw some of that power and that explosiveness of Egger at quarterback. Again, he led all junior colleges last year as a quarterback, All-American, and his favorite receiver, Lauren Ritchie, is a man that played with him down in junior college at that level at El Camino Junior College. We'll see them a little later. Right now, 2nd down and 10 for the Cougars. Their second series. James in motion. Again, the inside handoff to Mays. He gets down to the 40 before he is pushed back. Tiny McMillan in there, number 95. Stands at 6'3", 290 pounds out of Banks, Oregon. He's one of the defensive tackles for Utah.
Mark Rippon with a chance tonight to move up on both the career passing and total offense marks. Needs just 20 yards to move into the number 4 spot on the passing list.
3rd down and 7 as Mays goes in motion right side. Little swing pass to him this time. Gets down inside the 35, near a first down. We'll wait and see where they mark it. It appears to be enough yardage. Down near the 32. Reuben Mays, the number 2 receiver on the Cougar offense, came in here with 11 receptions for 189 yards and a touchdown. Might remember that one against Oregon. Ran over 80 yards on that play. So it's 1st and 10 again for the Cougars after that fumble by Eddie Lewis. Cougs in good shape 32-yard line of Utah. 1st and 10, chase in motion this time. The option to Porter as a seam, gets down to the 20 and knocked out of bounds inside the 20-yard line by Reggie Richardson, number 21, the safety for Utah. So the counter stuff is working quite well right now for Washington State.
Chance to watch this play again. Most importantly, Ripon able to handle the snap this time. And there is Porter with some running room, and Richardson comes up, does a nice job to get underneath Kerry Porter and knock him out of bounds.
Washington State mixing it up quite well. 1st and 10 from the Utah 18-yard line. Taylor in motion. The draw. Ruben Mays has an opening, gets through, and it is nothing but green between him and the end zone. Touchdown, Cougars. A nifty little draw on the part of the Cougars, and Ruben Mays fought his way through a number of hands reaching for him defensively, squirted through and scored 6.
So the Cougars jump on the scoreboard first, taking advantage of the Eddie Lewis fumble, as you see some of the Cougar boosters who have made the trip here to Salt Lake City.
There are a few of them.
For Mr. Mays, his 3rd touchdown of the season, and John Trout on to add to his extra point record at Washington State.
It's got 7 straight going on so far. 1985. Let's make it 8 straight. Yes, indeed. So Washington State, the first to break the ice, leading Utah here in Rice Stadium, where the Utes have gone 23-3-1 since 1980, September of 1980. We will return to Salt Lake City in just a moment. Back to Rice Stadium, Washington State with a 7-0 lead with 8:24 remaining here in the first quarter. John Trout about to kick off, and everybody in the world knows who Utah would like to get the ball on this kickoff, that being number 2 in the end zone, Errol Tucker. He is 4th in the nation. He is averaging some 40 yards on his kickoff returns. That a little blown out of proportion because of a 100-yard touchdown return against Hawaii last week. But he is extremely explosive. Had a 69-yard punt return against the Cougs last year in a punt. This kick going to Tucker deep into the end zone. He's going to bring it out. Tucker to the 10, to the 15, gets outside. Ricky Reynolds is there. And finally, Tucker out to the 33-yard line. So you get some idea of just how dangerous number 2 is. Errol Tucker at only 5'8", 170 pounds.
At the Cougars special teams meeting this morning, they talked about Tucker and the fact that you just cannot relax because he will bring it out no matter where he is. He is very confident, and he'll take an awful lot of chances, and he gives Utah some good field position to get started on this drive.
Well, I'm sure that Jim Walden would just as soon have seen Mr. Trout send that one halfway into the locker room instead of getting it into the end zone, and I might be going against a little bit of wind. I think he was. Nevertheless, 1st and 10 on their own 32-yard line, Utah. They were driving after before a fumble by the man carrying the ball now. Eddie Lewis goes to the left side and finally knocked OB by 3 different Cougars. Cedric Brown there along with a number of other Cougars.
Gentlemen, we'll probably have a chance to see quite a bit tonight. Errol Tucker, number 2, he is also a defensive back, and you see he makes a very nice move here to get out of bounds. Ricky Reynolds comes up, has a shot at him, but just one quick move gets him by Reynolds, and Tucker very smartly moving the ball away from the defenders. He's not going to cough it up.
I tell you, Reynolds pretty wisely was able to keep his feet too, because okay, you got faked out, but at least keep your feet and get another shot at him possibly. 2nd down and 4 after the gain by Lewis. Ball on the 39-yard line of Utah. Egger to go upstairs again. Looks across the middle, has his man right there. That is number 80, Craig McEwen, who is a tight end. You will see him in the backfield quite often or lining up in a slot position for Utah. Good receiver.
That time Utah lined up with a double tight end alignment, going with just the one back offense. Eddie Johnson, the sophomore, who, as we mentioned, was the outstanding freshman of the WAC a year ago, has been banged up a bit earlier in the years. You get a chance to look at Mr. Egger, the southpaw, with the bit of a different delivery.
First down and 10 on the 48-yard line of Utah. McEwen in motion. They go inside to Eddie Johnson, and he is met right at the line of scrimmage by, I believe, Jim Krakowski, number 51, playing the linebacker position. Jim having to deal, there he is, number 51, dealing with hamstring pulls during two-a-day workouts, then a shoulder injury. But he is back and terribly valuable. They need him out on that field. It's that simple. He's a veteran, and the Cougars need him. So that'll bring up second down and 8, a gain of only 2. We are right at midfield here in the first quarter. 6:45 remaining. Washington State with a 7-0 lead. Egger looking over the secondary for Utah. Lewis in motion. Looking to the right, has a man across, but overthrows. Lauren Ritchie, a flag is down, and it looks like maybe number 20, Ricky Reynolds, had interfered. Let's wait and see.
What we talked about earlier, the Cougars did get some pressure that time on Egger. Ivan Cook, the freshman out of Roseville, California, got the pressure on, forced Egger to get rid of the football. I'm a little surprised the flag was thrown in that instance, because the ball was completely thrown over the receiver's head. He didn't have a chance to make the catch, and usually that should not be a pass interference call, and Jim Walden is having his say about that right now.
Well, unless the contact was made before the ball got to where they would be, and that may have been what happened. Maybe an extra chug possibly. So that moves the ball all the way down to the Washington State 35-yard line, where it will be 1st and 10. So 2 key mistakes. One, a fumble by Utah, and this interference call on Washington State. Let's see if Utah can capitalize on it. Washington State did on the fumble. They got a touchdown. Egger looking left. Throws to Lauren Ritchie, but he is out of bounds. That'll make it 2nd down and 10. Jeff Loomis covering number 49, the outside linebacker for Washington State.
One of the interesting battles that I've had a chance to watch on the offensive line is 79 Isako Poti and Rob Cleveland. Those two really going at it. Last time on that last play, Poti lost his helmet, as you see Jim Walden looking for his 39th win as the Cougar head coach.
He is 1-0 against Utah as a coach. I believe he was 2-0 as a quarterback from Wyoming against Utah. 2nd down and 10. Still on the 35 of Washington State. To lay it off to Eddie Lewis. He's got running room. Cedric Brown in there to make the stop. Along with number 91, Ben Carrillo, into the ball game now. As a linebacker for Washington State, the man who has been dealing with a lot of injuries. But it is a 1st down for the Utes. They are down to the 28, the 23-yard line.
Get a chance to take a look at this 12-yard gain as you see the Cougars not quite able to get the pressure there. Lewis makes the nice catch, and a big hit there by Ben Carrillo.
As soon as he got up, he waved the fist in the air saying, I'm back. The butterflies are gone. Well, they need him right now. It is 1st and 10 on the Cougar 23. The draw. Eddie Lewis getting down near the 15-yard line of Washington State.
Ben Carrillo again making the stop on that play, and he did his homework. He stayed home on the draw and made a very nice tackle. He fought off a block and was able to stop the play even after a gain of 7 yards.
If this offense looks a little sophisticated, quite elaborate for Utah, you're right. Their coach, Jim Fossil, is outstanding. Used to be the offensive coordinator for Stanford during the John Elway years, also the Turk Schonert years. So this is a very, very fine offense for Utah. This time Eddie Johnson checking Eddie Lewis, but what a hit by Ron Collins, the strong safety, coming up and absolutely nailing Lewis in the backfield. A key play by the Cougars.
Big play by the junior out of Kashmir. Ron Collins with a big play. Nobody put a hand on him as he came in. Made the big stop for a loss of 3. We see it again as, hello, Mr. Lewis.
I think Mr. Beard, number 22, missed his block, the other backfield member. So that makes it 3rd down and 7 on the 20-yard line. A loss of 5. Timeout. Timeout to Utah. So far we've had two key mistakes, as I said earlier, or turning points anyway. The fumble by Lewis, which Washington State capitalized and scored. And then the pass interference has kept this drive alive for Utah as Egger meets with the coaches for the Utes. And again, Steve Morton on the right side of your screen, one of the coaches meeting with Ben Carrillo. This was the drive. Only 5 plays, 43 yards, and the 18-yard drop play by Mays.
Another 55-second drive for the Cougars. We'll get a chance now to take a look at that touchdown run by Ruben Mays, and watch as he approaches the hole on the draw. He's going to kind of run in place for a minute, wait for the hole to develop, fights his way through, breaks a couple of tackles, and pops through. That's one thing Gary Gagnon was talking about to his running backs this morning, the fact that, gentlemen, we just have not been breaking any tackles in the last couple of games, and Mays did it that time.
4:52 remaining in the first quarter. Washington State trying to hold on to this 7-0 lead. It is 3rd down and 7 for Utah. The 7th meeting between these two schools. They were tied, or are tied, at 3 apiece, with Washington State winning the last 2. Last time Washington State played here was back in 1975 when they defeated Utah by the score of 30-14. So Egger bringing the Utes up onto the offensive line. 3rd down and 7. Egger to pass. Pretty good pressure. Going outside to Ritchie over the head. So it is 4th down. And I would imagine we'll see Mr. Guardi, Andre Guardi, the field goal kicker, who has a number of records, not only for the school, but of course for the WAC. He is 6th in the nation in field goal scoring. He's a junior out of Hacienda Heights, California. Also has a WAC record 52 straight PATs. The 38-yard attempt. Check that, the 32-yard attempt. And it is good. So Utah's up on the scoreboard for the first time tonight, and we are at 7-3 with 4:41 remaining here in the first quarter. So Guardi gets him on the scoreboard. Are we in? So again, bring it up to the 40-yard line. And sending it in to the end zone, he hopes anyway.
Cougar fans who had a chance to see that wild 42-40 contest in Pullman a year ago will remember Andre Guardi, a 52-yard field goal against the Cougars. And he, of course, is the man at the end of the contest responsible for the first 2 Utah victories with those last-second field goals. One thing we saw from the Cougars defensively on that last drive, they did get some pressure on Egger as he was trying to pick apart the secondary. When Egger had time, he was able to find receivers. But when the Cougars were able to get some pressure on him, forced him to throw the ball just a bit quicker, as we get the view from Andre Guardi. I always wondered why kickers wear one black shoe and one white shoe. Must be superstition.
Junior Talatasi is the man that's going to be receiving, and he has it 1 step into the end zone. Up to the 15, to the 20, flag down. He's got an opening. Talatasi up to midfield, cuts inside, and finally is brought down by Reggie Richardson, number 21, on the Utah 45. But let's see what the flag is all about. A clipping call on Washington State. Looks like Junior may be banged up a little bit as he sits down. Mark Smaha, the trainer, checking him out.
Take a look, see if we can pick up the clip here. Looks like it occurred just on the upper portion of the screen.
Top of the screen.
As you see, the Cougars would have had the football starting off in great field position at the 45 of Utah. Instead, it will be inside the 10-yard line of Washington State. So the offense is going to have to work out of a hole.
The senior Mark Rippon, the engineer for Jim Walden's offense. So here come the Cougars with a 7-3 lead with 4:32 remaining here in the first quarter in Salt Lake City. Cotton Sears wide to the right. That is who Rippon was motioning to. The quick pitch. Trying to get outside his Porter. It's up near the 15-yard line.
Defending for Utah, number 97, Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson making the stop, number 97.
Porter now 4 carries for 27 yards unofficially, while Ruben Mays has carried the football 5 times for 44 yards.
A gain of 4. It'll be 2nd down and 6 from the 14 of Washington State. Again, Washington State trying to keep it on the ground, eat up some time. In motion is Mays. This time he'll go upstairs, looks to the left side. Ball knocked loose, pass no good to Michael James.
Michael James incomplete.
Good look at Michael James, a junior out of Lakes High School in Tacoma. Could not hang on to that football, which was thrown where Mark Rippon had to throw it, down low away from the defender, and it sets up a 3rd and 5 situation for the Cougars.
Kittrick Taylor wide to the right, 3rd down and 5 from the 14. And Mark Rippon wants a timeout. He's got a number of different wide receivers in there. Washington State using a lot of people right now. Out there is Jeff Christensen, number 80, and also number 85, Mark Bircher. So he's using lots of folks out there going wide.
Well, it's a phase of the game that Jim Walden was not pleased with last week against Arizona. And Jim Walden has a history when folks do not perform up to his expectations. He generally would like to make some changes. As you see Jim Walden and Mark Rippon talking about things. The Cougars with a big 3rd and 5 situation here, so Mark Rippon wanted to make sure he had the right call.
Let's go down to Bob Romero in the field.
Okay, guys, from down here so far, I've been a lot of hard hitting, and the Cougar offensive line that Jim Walden was so concerned about seems to be doing the job. There have been holes open for the running game, and especially young Utley has been getting out in front of those running plays, so Cougars have to be happy with the way things have gone up front so far.
Well, they've got a big challenge right now, Bob, as they're 3rd and 5 from their own 14-yard line. Looks like Kittrick Taylor now wide to the left. I apologize if I hesitate a little. We've got a post right to our left, and it's hard to see that end of the field, to be quite honest. Man in motion. Here goes Rippon. Looks for the lob to Ruben. And it was simply thrown to the wrong side of Ruben, trying to get it on the left side. It was over his right shoulder and just couldn't make connection.
It was a case of Mark Rippon simply having to get rid of the football. John Payton, who weighs 235 pounds, was right on top of him, and the Utah Utes have the Cougars backed up. Glenn Harper will be kicking from about his own 2-yard line.
Harper averaging 39 yards, and you know who's back there. Errol Tucker waiting for it. The punt, number 2. Averaging 22 yards on every punt return in 1985. Spiral nose over, beautiful punt. Very deep back to his own 30, but a lot of room now for Tucker. Tries to go up the middle, and the Cougars cover him really quite well.
55-yard boot by Glenn Harper was up to the task to get the Cougars out of a hole. Utah will still start with pretty good field position.
Well, the big thing here, too, is the fact that he didn't out-punt his coverage. You want to get plenty of hang time. Yeah, it's great to have a deep punt, but if it's too far, it just sets it up better for the return. But in this case, good coverage by Washington State. So for Utah, it is 1st down and 10 from their own 42-yard line after the 55-yarder by Harper. High formation. Hager at quarterback. No flag. Little swing pass over to Eddie Johnson, and not much there as number 67, Cleveland, doing a good job of sniffing that one out. Defensive lineman, Rob Cleveland.
Utah shows the tendency to throw to their backs an awful lot, as they have done so far early in this contest, and the Cougars are ready for that. They have done a pretty good job of stringing those plays out, as Cleveland did there. No gain on the play, so it's a 2nd and 10 situation for Utah.
Well, if this offense looks familiar, that being for Utah, it's because of the head coach, Jim Fossil. We saw a lot of this in Stanford for many years. During the Elway years, Turk Schoenert. 2nd and 10. They go with a quick draw into Eddie Johnson, who gets up near midfield. Short of the 1st down.
Some nice trap blocking on the line that time by Utah to open the hole for Johnson. As you get a look at the 5'8", 175-pound sophomore. He's from Santa Monica. So far, perhaps one reason why that draw play works so well. Egger has hit 5 out of 7 passes for Utah.
Tarulia, number 27, Dean Tarulia making the stop for Washington State. 3rd down and 2 from their own 49. Washington State leading 7-3. First quarter. Egger to throw. Trying to go to Herman Beard, but simply off target. So it'll be 4th down and 2 for Utah.
Dean Tarulia made that play. Great pressure from the outside. The sophomore out of Sammamish High School in Bellevue with nice pressure on Egger, forced the incomplete pass, and we are going to see Hank Mundaka on to punt.
Mundaka averaging 36.4 yards per kick. He's a good punter. Very good hang time normally. Did very well. Kittrick Taylor back waiting for Washington State. From his own 35. Again, very high punt going to the left side. Inside the 10, and well, I find that to be interesting. The referee marking it on the 1-yard line, but he had probably the worst angle in the entire stadium to mark that. He was standing on about the 10 and ran down immediately and marked it on the 1. That's a tough call for that referee. But anyway, it's going to be on the 1-yard line for Washington State. So now they are really in a hole. Great field position for Utah's defense.
Utah fans certainly don't mind this spot at all.
Well, I find that interesting because, as I said, the referee was standing on the 10-yard line and had a bad angle. But here come the Cougars. 1st and 10 on their own 1. Taylor in motion. And they're just simply trying to get it out of the hole.
Rippon trying to get the Cougars a little breathing room. Mark has been rushing the football very well for the Cougars. 24 carries for 111 yards, but when you subtract all the yards he's been thrown for losses trying to pass it, cuts things down a little bit. But it's interesting. Who has the longest run from scrimmage so far this year for the Cougars? Mark Rippon, 27 yards.
Gain of 3 that time. 2nd down and 7 from their own 4-yard line. Rick Chase going in motion. And they come outside to the right. Kerry Porter getting out beyond the 5-yard line up near the 7. Kerry Porter out of the great state of Montana. Only a junior. He'll be back next year. So they're calling it 3rd down and 4 for Mr. Rippon and company. Jeff Lamson, the tight end, number 83. 3rd and 4. Hayes getting out beyond the 10. Let's see where they mark it. Needed to get to the 11-yard line.
I think the most important thing on Ruben Mays' mind is that pitch came back to him, was hanging on to the football. He did a juggling act for a while. That was dangerous territory. Let's see Ruben with his juggling act here on the pitch. Just tried to tuck it in a bit too soon. A couple of nice blocks, but some nice pursuit on the play. Curtis Sampson, the senior, making the stop. As you look at Ruben Mays as they await the measurement.
Looks like they may have it by about 3 inches. Let's see what the...
Your eyes are good if that's the case.
That's about 3. Oh, they're short by about 1 inch. That's a tough angle from here, right?
Well, they've got the 1st down according to the officials.
Now from that angle, it looked short, didn't it?
Cougars like the call, though, as you see Kittrick Taylor, Kerry Porter, Mark Bircher return to the field. 1st down on their own 11.
So a lot of people getting a lot of exercise and experience tonight for Washington State, at least at the wide receiver position. 1st and 10 on their own 11-yard line. Washington State starting back on their own 1 after the Mundaka punt that got it down there. The pitch, the reverse, Kittrick Taylor. A number of key people there anyway for Utah. So Utah sniffed it out all right. Kittrick Taylor going around to the left side. Let's take a look again.
Watch the blitz coming by Utah. And Mark Rippon with the fake, fortunately, was able to run away from Mark Jackson, but Utah had that defended pretty well. Had Taylor been able to get outside, he would have been long gone.
Stephen Baker making the stop, number 78. Quick pitch, Michael James gets outside. Picks up around 5 yards out near the 16-yard line of Washington State. Again, the starting back on their own 1. So the Cougars doing a good job of eating up the clock and holding on to the ball. 41 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
That is the type of play that will pick up some yardage for the Cougars against this very aggressive Utah defense. And looks like Utah is going to use a defensive timeout right here. The Cougars jumping up to the line of scrimmage. Utah, knowing that they need to stop the Cougars on this third down play, have elected to use their second timeout. Mark Rippon says that's fine. We'll go over to the bench and talk about things a little bit.
So 31 seconds remaining here in Rice Stadium. As far as injuries, looking at a couple of things, Rick Chase was a little banged up. That's maybe one reason why we're seeing other wide receivers too. Chase a little banged up, a couple of other players. Kitrick Taylor with a sore ankle. As you see Mr. Rippon talking it over with Walden.
Unofficially, so far this evening, Rippon 3 out of 7 through the air with a pickup of 24 yards. Now that would put Mark Rippon into the number 4 spot on the all-time career passing mark, replacing Bob Newman. Rippon now with 3,176 yards passing for the Cougars in his career. That, of course, unofficial. We'll try to get some official words for you. As you see Jim Fossil, I've got a great trivia question for you about Jim Fossil. He was the last man to touch a football in a World Football League game. He was a quarterback for the Hawaiian Islanders, and he was the very last man to touch a football in a WFL game. It'll be interesting to see who was the last man to touch a football in a USFL game, which could happen very soon.
He was offensive coordinator for the Portland Breakers just last season. Now in his first year in Utah. 3rd down and 5 on the 16 for Washington State. Big play. Rippon looking left and simply over the head of Cotton Sears. So it is time to punt for Mr. Harper, and Mark Rippon will come to the sidelines.
It appears that the Cougar wide receivers might be doing some things differently than Mark expects. As you see Cotton Sears and Rippon chatting as they go off the field. Mark having to get rid of the football in a hurry and not able to read things as well as he would like to.
Again, Harper back to punt for Washington State, standing very, very close to that goal line. Low kick, wobbly out near midfield, takes a Utah bounce, and that's about the best way to contain Terrell Tucker. Just don't give him the ball. So Utah with good field position near the 49 of Utah is where they will pick up.
35-yard punt that time by Glenn Harper, young man out of Edmonton.
17 seconds remaining here in the first quarter, and Washington State still with that 7-3 lead. Brian Ford coming off the field. He won't be playing linebacker on this particular play, at least. Carrillo back in there. Again, that new even front for the Washington State defense. They don't have the nose guard or the odd front anymore. Egger at quarterback, his second major college start in his young career. A very good one, lays it off over the middle to one of his inside people. And that's number 85. Clyde French. He threw to 9 people against Hawaii, so they bring in half the student body. He's the junior at 6'2", 235 pounds. And that's going to do it for the first quarter here in Salt Lake City. So Utah has the football. And we are in Rice Stadium with a crowd of better than 30.
Looks over the middle, has his man, James Hardy, who makes the catch and jukes his way down to the 15-yard line.
Cedric Brown just got a feeling of what this offense is all about for Utah. And again, it looks an awful lot like Stanford years ago when Fossil was there as their offensive coordinator. Again, Egger going out, has plenty of time, good protection, and finds Hardy across the middle. Simply down and across slant pattern, gets away from Kevin Thomason, Cedric Brown, and gets all the way down to the 15.
6 out of 10 for 101 yards already for Larry Egger, the southpaw out of Redondo Beach. You get a good look as he calls the signals. Hardy comes in motion. Ritchie, the wide receiver, as well. And the quick toss intended for Eddie Lewis falls incomplete.
Egger is quite a volleyball player out of Redondo Beach, down in the beach volleyball leagues down there. I guess they call him a AA level player. Quite a well-rounded athlete. Eddie Lewis, normally on the depth chart, he's number 2 at running back behind Johnson, but we've seen more of Lewis.
Johnson banged up just a little bit, had some leg problems, did rush for 96 yards against Hawaii, and the Utah folks thought he was back for good, but apparently not all the way. Cougar defense facing a stiff test from Egger. Young man who's very good at finding a multitude of wide receivers. You see 7 out of 10 for 80 yards for Egger. He's going to try his 11th pass attempt of the night and throws it over the middle. And it was Ron Collins who made a dive for the football. It was intended for James Hardy, but thrown underneath, and the key to that play defensively for the Cougars, some nice pressure on Egger.
Well, they blitzed. They were blitzing on that one, Bud. Carrillo came, and so did the outside man, one of the outside players. So the pressure was there. Good defense on the part of the Cougars. You're right.
3rd down and 10 situation for Utah. One thing to take a look at as you watch the Utah receivers run their patterns, they like to run an awful lot of crossing patterns. They try to pick off the defender. Shot of the trenches, just one back. Egger going to throw on 3rd and 10 as his man Ritchie inside the 5, going to see where they mark it if it's an opportunity for a 1st down for Utah. Ritchie set a junior college record with 83 receptions last year at El Camino. Egger throwing all 83 of those balls, and you see the Utah fans booing in the background because it has been spotted short of a 1st down. See Kevin Thomas over the chase.
Where the first part of the body hits, and it's back behind the 5-yard line. But it's quite a connection. They call it the El Camino connection between Egger and Ritchie. They played junior college ball last year, and we've said enough about Egger, what he did. And as you said, Ritchie, simply an outstanding receiver.
Interesting situation, 4th and 1 with Andre Guardi. You know you've got 3 points from this angle, but with about a half yard to go, the Utes are going to try it. 4th and 1. Ball on the Cougar 5. The backs are split. Egger's going to keep it, and he has the 1st down with the surge from the offensive line.
Keep in mind, Washington State has now gone 5 quarters without giving up a touchdown, at least 5. But they're going to be hard-pressed now. 1st and goal. Here it is. The guard simply comes down, and they pick off the nearest inside man, or the man inside of them, and that left the opening for Egger to come in on the sneak and pick up the 1st down. 1st and goal. There's McEwen, number 80, Bud. He's the man who's normally a tight end, but you'll see him line up in a slot in the backfield. A little more muscle in the blocking scheme, and, of course, another big receiver.
Utah, as we've talked about, and we've seen primarily a throwing team, but with 4 pops from the 3, do they run it? Yes, they do. This is Thurman Beard, and he is wrapped up back at the 7-yard line.
Mr. Loomis.
Jeff Loomis, junior out of Roseburg, Oregon, coming in to make the stop.
Loomis been banged up in the past couple of days. Let's watch him now. Top of your screen. He's able to get off the blocker, gets off the blocker, the tight end, it looks like, and just simply makes a great stop on the running back. Good job of shucking that blocker, getting into the backfield, and making something happen. Jim Walden happy with that.
Not happy with the fact that Utah has the football on the Cougars' 7-yard line, though. 2nd and 7. 12:50 left to go in the first half of this contest. Cougars lead it 7-3. Long count this time by Egger, and he's going to use that final timeout. You'll see this an awful lot. A new coach, a new system, and have to get the signals put together. Although Egger has an advantage in that Jack Riley, the offensive coordinator for the Utes, was his head coach at El Camino, and he brought along the sophisticated passing system that they used at El Camino, and one that Jim Fossil likes as well. Cougar cheerleaders making their way here to Salt Lake City.
Talking about Jim Fossil, he really is an outstanding young coach. He has been closely tied with John Ralston, as you see Jim Walden there, and of course the Cougar defense. But Fossil doing a great job of putting together a good solid program here. As I said, he's been with Stanford, but John Ralston feels he's really from the same mold as the Dick Vermeils and the Bill Walshes when it comes to offense. He runs the offense here, even though he is the head coach, or of course working with his offensive coordinator, but he's the man overseeing it and putting together so many of the schemes. But exciting football. It's that simple here at Utah.
A couple of scores to pass along. Folks on the eastern side of the state will be happy to hear that Eastern Washington has defeated Montana State 28-23, second year in a row.
Big win, though, isn't it?
The Eagles have knocked off Montana State.
Going ranked number 1, weren't they? Montana State in the
start of the season. Yeah, Eastern is now 3-0 as we have 2nd and 7, ball on the 7 for Utah. Coming in motion is Lauren Ritchie. Egger back, quick drop, throws over the middle. Has his man Terry Shaw for the touchdown.
Flag down. We do have a flag down, and it is along the line of scrimmage, and it was a late flag.
Utah fans on their feet momentarily. We'll see if they'll stay on their feet for very long.
Well, that was a late call, as you see now. Hager coming across, simply down and across is all it was. His shot came across and beat Cedric Brown, I believe, and got the score. But the flag came down very late after the touchdown was scored, and it was along the line of scrimmage. And quite a conference going on now. A lot of Cougars up there. And we'll wait and see. When it's this long, it's usually a double foul. Let's wait and see. Okay.
Inadvertent.
Inadvertent. No flag.
So the touchdown will stand, as will the Utah fans.
Feels like a Seattle Mariner game with that cannon in the background.
The thing I don't like is it's aimed right at us. So Andre Guardy will be on to attempt his 53rd consecutive point after touchdown. Utah has taken a 9-7 lead with 12:39 left to go in the first half. Hank Mundaka, the punter, is the holder, and Guardy has made it 53 in a row. So look at the scoreboard, 12 minutes, 39 seconds left to go in the first half here in Salt Lake City as Utah 10, Washington State 7. Yeah.
And now it's probably good. Oh, there it is.
Back. Wonder.
It's every time I lean forward.
Yeah. You're not really hitting that, are you?
No. I'm just.
Namick, Don Poyer, and Bob Romero back at Rice Stadium. This stands to be one of the top 10 crowds in Rice Stadium history. Well over 30,000 folks in the stands on this rather brisk evening. See the Cougar returnman, Junior Tautalatasi, who's averaging 23.5 yards a kick return. Junior going to let this one hit into the end zone, and the Cougars will start on their own 20. Which is actually some pretty good field position with you consider the fact they started on their own 1-yard line the last time they had it, and on the 10 the time before. As you see Cotton Sears and Junior Tautalatasi.
Looks like he's staying in. Staying in the backfield for the Cougars.
I think now that the Cougars are out of Pac-10 play after those first 3 contests, it's a situation where Jim Wallen finally gets a chance to take a look at a couple people. You see Kurt Ladinas over the football, the senior out of Highline High School in Seattle. Mark Rippon sends Kittrick Taylor in motion. Look out for the blitz. There it is. And the handoff goes to Tautalatasi, and he goes nowhere.
Got a flag down too, Bud.
Thrown right at the line of scrimmage, and after the snap.
Mark so far tonight, 24 yards. Really hasn't put the ball up all that often. At least not by a Mark Rippon standard.
And when he has thrown the ball, it has been in a situation where he has been under pressure to throw the football, as you see the call going against Washington State. So even though the Cougars had some decent field position, the holding call is going to push him back. Let's see if we can detect what happens here.
Well, there was a holding call. It's obviously somewhere along the line. So it didn't really matter a whole lot because Tautalatasi met the entire Utah student body. Going to back it up to the 10-yard line.
So it'll be first down and 20 for the Cougars from their own 10. And I'll tell you, you hate to see holding calls. And I know Jim Walton's going to say, fellas, if you're going to hold them well enough that we can pick up some yardage. So Rippon looks over the line now. Cougars trailing by 3 now. Have their backs at their own end of the field, as you see. Rick Chase go in motion. Cougars will keep it on the ground, and it is snuffed out again this time. The Utes just punishing the Cougars in the backfield.
Jim Walden going with a scheme. He's obviously trying to see Jenkins, the man who made the stop. Walden trying to go with his offensive scheme of keeping it on the ground, trying to establish the pass even better. But you can't do that when your offensive line allows somebody like Jenkins to come through like he did there.
And Jenkins, a guy that you would expect the Cougars to pick on. He is a sophomore starting on defense for the first time ever. Just moved over to the defensive side of the football this week in practice.
Yeah, normally an offensive tackle.
2nd and 21 for the Cougars on their own 9. Cougars with 3 wide receivers. The quick toss to Kittrick Taylor, and he has no running room. Errol Tucker coming up to make the stop.
Something to keep in mind, there was almost double coverage on Taylor that time as Michael James was going along the sidelines, literally unscathed. You'll see now as Rippon looks to the right, 2 people already closing down on Taylor, and you saw Michael James going across the top of your screen, wide open that time. So let's see, maybe James will come back into the huddle and say, keep an eye out for number 88.
What the Cougars were stressing in the early going today is for Mark Rippon to read that free safety so he has an opportunity to find out where the holes are, and he just really hasn't had a whole lot of time. Rippon rolling now makes the throw. Mark Bircher makes the catch, but is pulled down short of first down yardage. Errol Tucker, the dangerous return man, with a nice stop there on Mark Bircher, the junior out of Richland.
The defense for Utah, of course, knowing that Washington State had to get to the 30, they're willing to give up the territory up until then, and they did the right thing.
Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. Glenn Harper with the high kick for the Cougars, a wobbly spiral that is going to hit and go out of bounds at the 38-yard line. So Utah will pick up the football, have a 1st and 10 on their own 38-yard line after the punt by Glenn Harper. Bob Romero is standing by on the sidelines. Bob?
Well, Bud, one thing on that last drive, it was evident that when Egger had time, he could throw. The Cougars all season long have not had much success getting pressure on the quarterback. That's what they're going to have to do, because you know Utah wants to put the ball in the air. Bud?
And that has been a situation that we have seen. The fact that when Egger out of that formation.
Egger right on schedule passing-wise. He had 275 yards against Hawaii last week at 97 now.
1st and 20, the handoff goes to Johnson again, and he has some running room outside and a blocker in front, and picks up about 7 yards before he is finally brought down. And Egger's passing has really spread out the Cougar defense.
Again, Gerald Johnson being one of those coming on and getting some action, comes to the right side. Got an offensive lineman out there, that gives you the option. Collins coming up, putting on a pretty good hit, but didn't get the arms around him. And the gain by Gerald Johnson.
So a 2nd and 12 situation now as Egger brings the Utes up to the line of scrimmage. Just inside 10 minutes to play in the first half here in Salt Lake City. Egger with the quick drop. Plenty of time to throw again. A big hit. But able to hang on to the football was Terry Shaw.
That's concentration. It's that simple. Everybody at home knows it too. That if you can hold on, concentrate, expect to hit, and still hold on to the ball, that's what it takes to play major college football.
Shaw was punished once he caught that football just the other side of the midfield stripe, and it is a 1st down and 10 situation now for Utah on the 47-yard line of Washington State. So a pickup of 17 on that play. And right now, Larry Egger doing a fine job of finding his receivers against this Cougar defense. Egger calling an audible at the line of scrimmage this time. Cougars with the 4-man front. Handoff goes to Gerald Johnson again. This time, Ben Carrillo able to make the stop in the middle.
Another ball player getting in there for Washington State defensively. You see the replay. He may be in this play, as a matter of fact. Is number 19, Artie Holmes, playing in the secondary for Washington State. Carrillo up here coming in and making a nice move from the inside position. The center linebacker coming up, making the stop on Gerald Johnson.
Johnson picked up 4 on that last play. 2nd down and 6. Ball on the near hash mark as you see Egger over his center, Gary Anderson. Egger going to throw, has been given plenty of time again. Now some pressure finally flushed out as the Cougar secondary able to do it. Ball just thrown up in the air. A dangerous pass, as that one was intended for the tight end, Craig McEwen. That one was just up for grabs.
Here it is again. Again, pretty good pressure now by Washington State. You need the containment as well, so he's unable to roll like he does here. Good pressure, finally going out and looking for McEwen. And like you say, that was a wounded duck, and McEwen not a chance really to get to it. Oof, dangerous passes. 3rd and 6.
And a situation here where Utah is not in field goal range, so they need at least one more 1st down to get into Andre Guarde's range. That is McEwen, the tight end, going in motion. Cougars come with the blitz, and it's picked up. Egger gets it away and had to throw it away. The initial man on the blitz. Ben Carrillo was picked up, but Dean Tarullo was able to get through and put some pressure on Egger, and that will force the Utes to punt. Hank Mandaka will come on to punt.
2 straight times then now. Ivan Cook, the last time number 76, the defensive lineman, this time Carrillo. So I think Washington State obviously has discovered something. The blitz works.
Mandaka averaging 36 yards a punt. As you get a look at number 17, will kick it away from his own 45. Kittrick Taylor is on the 10-yard line of the Cougars, awaiting the punt. This one a kick that is angling out of bounds. Actually, it's going to take a bounce back inside, and the Cougars are going to have the football very deep in their own territory again, probably at the 2. And now the official is going to mark it at the 1-yard line. Halati Moala down there to cover the football for the Utes, and Ute fans are happy with the way things are progressing so far in this contest. Utah leading it 10-7. 8:02 left to go in this second quarter.
Well, field position is everything in this game, as everybody at home knows again. But my goodness, Washington State starting another drive inside their own 5-yard line for the second time, starting on their own 1. Well, they moved it out now. They were on the 1, now they're out to the 4.
I thought that was the better spot, as Malati caught the ball.
Exactly, that's where he made the contact with the ball.
So the Cougs with a little bit of breathing room, starting at their 4, just 1 back, as Rippon is going to throw out of the end zone, rolling and gets it away. It is caught by Rick Chase. He's across the 10, breaks a tackle, and will set up a 2nd and 2 situation. Cougars crossing Utah up a bit on that one, I think, throwing from their own 4-yard line.
Jim Walden maybe deciding to open it up just a little bit more. Yeah, that is a dangerous play, but also you've got the option when you're the quarterback to either get rid of it or run or throw it out of bounds, or if you have an open receiver like he did Chase, go ahead and make the play. So it may not be as dangerous as it looks. Kittrick Taylor, number 8, always smiling, nice guy. He's in the training room the other day. We're laughing and joking quite a bit. Still has a sore ankle, though.
2nd down and 2 for the Cougars, and that is Taylor going in motion this time. Rippon with the quick pitch out to Ruben Mays, and he's able to spin forward for the first down across the 15 to about the 17-yard line. So Mays over the 50-yard mark for the contest.
That's 2 plays in a row now, Bud, that Washington State appears to really be applying themselves a little bit more. In that case, good effort on the part of the people in front of Mays, and Mays himself trying to fire through and get the first down. So maybe Washington State waking up a little bit and deciding it's time to earn the scholarships.
Cougar cheerleaders trying to get the Cougars some momentum on the field as Rippon rolls, and it looks like he's going to tuck it. Now has time to throw and finds Kittrick Taylor in a seam, and Taylor works his way out to the 34-yard line. Mark Rippon very close to the line of scrimmage, but was just behind it when he got that pass off to Kittrick Taylor.
That play, you might remember, was successful when they had 3rd and long. Let's look at it again as Rippon rolls out. Tough for any quarterback who's right-handed to throw against the seam. Rolling to his left, Kittrick Taylor there, and fight for as much yardage as he can. First down.
17-yard gain as number 17, Mark Rippon, the senior out of Shadle Park High School, over Kurt Ladinas, the center. Sends Christensen in motion. On the option this time, Rippon keeps to the 37-yard line. So a pickup of about 3 on the play.
Got a man down for Utah. As we see, the fake to Rubin. And 78 Steve Baker in there to make the stop. I think the numbers are wrong here for Utah, because 78 normally is one of the offensive guards or quick guard for Utah.
Both players in that position just moving over from offense, Bob Jenkins and Steve Baker. Number 91, Gamalel Rivers, has a broken finger and unable to play in this contest. It's interesting, Rivers having to sit out with a broken finger, while number 97, linebacker Mark Jackson, has played the first 2 games with a broken hand.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on the severity, I suppose. We still do not know who the player is down. Looks like one of the defensive linemen for Utah. Here he is.
Have a score in from the Lone Star State. The Washington Huskies, looking for their first win of the season, have a 13-10 lead over the Houston Cougars. That is in the 3rd quarter. A couple of other Pac-10 scores. Oregon has defeated Stanford, and in that, I believe the final was 45-28 in that contest.
Yeah, Oregon trailed 14-0 at one stage, and they went on to get it.
Oregon is now 2-0 in Pac-10 play.
Well, Jim Walden said a number of other people felt that they could win as many as 7-8 games maybe in 1985. When you've got a quarterback like Chris Miller and a running back like Tony Cherry, and a wide receiver like Lou Barnes, they have the makings for an outstanding offense, at least for Oregon. Some other scores: TCU, without running back Ken Davis, went on to defeat Kansas State 24-22. This one looks serious as they're bringing out the stretcher for one of the defensive players for Utah.
Something you don't like to see at all.
Washington State's next opponent, that being the Buckeyes of Ohio State, defeating Colorado 36-13. I believe they trailed 7-0 at one stage in that game. Ohio State did.
Of course, we'll have that game live on the Cougar Sports Network, and the Buckeye fans are hopeful that their Heisman Trophy candidate, Keith Byers, will be able to make it back into the lineup. He had the cast taken off his broken foot last Monday, had some problems. As you see the very large gathering here in Rice Stadium, the three biggest crowds here, actually the two biggest crowds here, both against BYU. Last year they had over 36,000 in this 35,000 seat stadium. Back in 1982 they had over 36,000 as well. The top 15 crowds here at Rice Stadium are all against WAC opponents. This will be the first non-conference game that will draw this large of a crowd here in Utah.
Still been unable to get word as to who that player is.
Tough to see the number as he is on the stretcher.
Well, we'll get word as soon as we find out for any Utah fans watching. Setting it up again. It's still 2nd down and 7.
Look at the Cougar huddle as you see Rick Chase head out. Also Jeff Lamson, the tight end. Mike Dreyer, number 77. That was Mike Jones, the junior defensive back for Utah, injured on the play and carried off. We'll try to update you on his situation a little later as Rippon throws over the middle. Excellent catch by Rick Chase as he went high in the air to come down. And the Cougars picked on the replacement of Mike Jones, Clarence Fields, number 41, the junior, as you see some of the Cougar fans who made their way here.
Mike Jones has a reputation for being the hardest hitter in the secondary for Utah. He is now gone after that injury. And you see, you're exactly right, bud. They picked on the new guy, Chase, there, and made a great completion. Here it is again, this time from the sideline. Rippon not even hesitating, the feet steady, no shuffling. He knew his man was open and simply fired.
31-yard gain, 1st and 10 for the Cougars on the 32 of Utah. Kittrick Taylor goes in motion. Rippon with a quick pitch to Ruben Mays. Cuts back inside and has a good healthy gain on 1st down of about 6, maybe 7 yards.
Jim Walden again mixing it up awfully well. They go deep on the slant to Rick Chase. Now they go the sweep right. You're right at the point now where you have no idea exactly what Jim Walden's going to call in the next play. That's what you want. You want your defense wondering rather than maybe seeing some sort of tendency by that offense.
Credit Mays with a pickup of 5 on that one. Gives him 57 yards unofficially on the evening. Good shot at the line of scrimmage. The men in the trenches. Billy Williams, number 56, still in there on the offensive line. The draw handoff to Mays, and he is going to have the 1st down for the Cougars. Cougars doing a nice job that time to set up the delay.
Number 97, you can see just slightly that huge cast that Mark Jackson has. And playing middle linebacker, it's got to be awfully tough. There he is to the right side of your screen. How do you catch a pass or intercept a pass with a club like that? He manages to make the tackle, though, really with one hand and that stub on the right side.
I think he nailed Ian Lindner pretty well with that stub. Lindner, the junior out of Newport High School in Bellevue. You see Steve Morton over there near Jim Walden as we take a look. Cougs about 2 inches short for the 1st down. You see Mark Rippon trying to fudge on it a little bit, make it shorter than it looks. It'll set up a 3rd down and a couple of inches situation for the Cougars.
Well, with 5:43 remaining now, bud, here in the 2nd quarter, of course they want the 1st down, eat up a little more time, and again keep that wide open offense off the field for Utah. We'll see them take their sweet time, I would imagine, on this drive.
I would not be surprised to see Jim Walden go with some sort of a play action pass right here, figuring that he can pick up a half a yard on 4th down. Let's see. There's Ruben Mays. 10 carries for 61 yards. The pitch goes to Mays, and he's hit spins, and depending on where they mark the football, he might be short of the 1st down.
Flag down along the line of scrimmage. And it was early, so either probably an illegal procedure, something along those lines.
Mark Rippon indicating that the Cougars have lost some yardage on the play. And illegal procedure call against the Cougars, so it is going to set up an interesting situation for Utah. If we're short of the 1st down here, does Utah decide to set up a 4th and short, or do they accept the penalty and make it 3rd down and 5? John Trout warming up on the sidelines, waiting for a possible field goal opportunity.
I would imagine that they would probably see it, make it 3rd down and 5.
Long discussion as you
Yeah,
can see
they're
Harold
talking
Tucker
it over
saying,
too.
let's make him kick it. Although the Cougars are going to cross him up and go for it here.
Well, they're declining. So that'll make it 4th down.
But John Trout is not coming out of the field, and Jim Walden has elected to go for it on 4th and about a half a yard.
Yeah, why not? Non-conference game.
Kerry Porter is
early.
checked in, so the Cougars will go with the full house backfield. You see Rippon as he sets up over his center, Kurt Ladinas. Utes bring a number of men up to the line of scrimmage as Chase goes in motion. Rippon hands it inside to Mays. He's not going to get it. Pitches it to Porter. Nice fake that time. And let's see if the Cougars got it. Another flag on the play. Utah did not go for the fake the way I did. And you see Mark Jackson. Hold everything, though, fellas. We've got yet another flag on the play.
Preliminary indication, illegal motion.
Illegal motion against the Cougars. Of course, Utah will decline it. And the Utah fans on their feet, saluting the Utah defense.
Keep in mind, you've got an undefeated team out there in Utah, 2-0. The longer they stay in a game like this against a Pac-10 opponent, just the more and more fired up they become, the more confident they become. And they lead 10-7.
5 minutes, 13 seconds left to go here in the first half of play. As you take a look at the Utah huddle, number 99, the big tight end, Don Woodward, 6'3", 213-pound junior. Larry Egger, the quarterback, the junior out of Redondo Beach, calling the signals as the Cougars have 6 men on the line of scrimmage. The handoff goes to Eddie Johnson. He breaks a tackle off of Ron Collins outside and picks up first down yardage. Big hit that time by Cedric Brown. He put Johnson and a blocker down, and Johnson appears to be shaken up a bit.
I think he said you get the number of that truck, and it was number 16. He has been nursing a bad groin pull anyway, and hamstrings as he gets outside. Nice block by his offensive lineman, and here comes Cedric Brown. I don't know. I think they both took a pretty good hit in that case. 2nd down, though. They've got 1 to waste. Less than a yard to go for a first.
Credit Johnson with a pickup of 9. 2nd and a very, very short yard. Cougars bring everybody up on the line of scrimmage now. That is Hardy going in motion. And Egger's going to hand it off to the lone back, who picks up the first down very easily for Utah. And that time, just a great surge by the Utah offensive line. You see Kevin Reach, 261-pound senior, led the way.
Time becoming a factor now, too, Bud, with 5 minutes remaining here in the first half. They want to contain, of course, just like Washington State if they can get the ball. But a nice, long, steady drive would be absolutely perfect for Utah at this stage. Keep Mark Rippon off the field.
And with the strong leg of Andre Guardi, you figure the Utes need about 25 yards to get into field goal range. 1st and 10 situation, the backs are split behind Egger. They'll keep it on the ground this time. Plenty of running room for Eddie Lewis, and he skates away from a number of people. Has an angle. Cedric Brown finally able to get him at the 30 and out at the 26-yard line.
Coming into this ball game, Bud, Jim Walden said he really had a lot of respect for this man, number 33, Eddie Lewis, also 32, Eddie Johnson, because they're extremely tough runners and that they know how to cut against the grain. And he does a great job here. You watch. Okay, the interference does the job here. They give him a great seam and ice line, gets away from Brian Ford here. There's the block now by his wide receiver. Hardy makes a nice job. Now here he's cutting against the flow. He's going against the pursuit, and boy, it's murder. Finally, Cedric Brown, who has the angle, is able to get him out of bounds.
Lewis goes 36 yards on that play. He picked up 45 yards on 9 carries against the Cougars last year, so he gets a big chunk right there. That's Hardy again in motion. Look out for a possible reverse. The Cougars smell it out as a flag is thrown. Pick up of just a couple of yards there by Gerald Johnson, but now another flag thrown at the end of the play.
Looks like Coach Lindsay is not happy about something. Jim Walden out there along with him. And we do have a flag down. We got a clip against Utah.
And you see Brian Ford with the pursuit along with Ricky Reynolds, and they are able to put the wraps on Gerald Johnson. A couple of other guys come in to make him hurt. Kevin Thomas in there. You see Jim Walden indicating, yeah, it was a clip, fellas. Jim has to be a little concerned about the way things are going right now. Utah leading at 10-7. 4:25 left to go in this first half of play.
Playing against an offense like this, though, you almost have to go into that feeling of being a rubber band defense. You're going to have big plays on the part of offenses like Utah, like Arizona, but you simply have to be patient. Again, like the rubber band, get tighter and tighter as they get closer to your end zone. There's the clip call.
Going to set up an awfully long first down situation. Line of scrimmage will be the 41. They have to get down to the 17 for the first down. So call it 1st and 24. Gerald Johnson is the lone back behind Egger. He lines up awfully close to the line of scrimmage, not very deep at all. 3 wide receivers, including Lauren Ritchie, the favorite target of Egger.
Comes the blitz.
And Egger elects to just throw it away. Cougars with some good penetration that time. Ron Collins came in from the secondary. Eric Howard was there as well. We have not seen Larry Egger throw it to Lauren Ritchie all that much, and they hooked up a number of times. In fact, 9 times last week against Hawaii.
Got a touchdown after it, a very important touchdown later in the ball game. I'm surprised we haven't seen Utah try to go against maybe a few more draws or something to go against this blitz, because they're showing it quite often now. Washington State, that is.
That's Gerald Johnson lined up in a slot motion, so really nobody at all behind Egger. Has time to throw and finds his man Ritchie this time at the 35. Ritchie tries to elude a couple of tacklers, but the Cougars with good pursuit to make the stop.
Well, excellent containment. They made the reception, but great containment on the part of Ron Collins, forcing Ritchie to go back inside. Now watch this. Here's the catch by Ritchie. Now to his left, he's got Ron Collins just waiting to nail him if he tries to go outside, and that enables the pursuit to come in, like Brian Ford and company, to make the stop. Nice play defensively.
3rd and 17 now for Utah from the 34. So if the Cougars were to stop Utah right here, would set up about a 51-yard attempt for Andre Guardi. Remember, he kicked a 52-yarder against the Cougars a year ago. 3rd down play. Here we go. Egger pressured and hit by Howard as he unloads it. Still finds his man, and it looks like they are going to mark it right at the sticks.
What a play by Egger. That is terribly impressive. I don't think he saw Eric Howard coming in from the blind side. Here it comes now. Watch number 73, the defensive tackle for Washington State, go against Egger. Can't really see. Oh, I'm sure he could anticipate him coming. He could probably hear footsteps. Just simply a great pass, and gets it to Ritchie, and now they've got to measure for the first down.
It looks like they're going to mark it just a little short, but Ritchie's feet were actually beyond the flag where he came down with the football was just inside of it. Watching Ritchie operate, especially on that play, knowing his quarterback was in trouble, reminds you an awful lot of a guy like Steve Largent or a Fred Biletnikoff. Not one of the fastest guys in the world, but can find the holes.
Well, again, these two have played together for a couple of years. They played at the same junior college, El Camino Junior College, down in California. Here it is again now. Eric Howard coming through right there. Oh, I'm sure he could see him, but just simply waited as long as he possibly could, enabled Ritchie to make his pattern and to get away from the defender in time to make the catch. 3rd down, though. They're not calling it a first down. Check that, 4th down.
4th and about a half yard, and the Utes are going to go for it. So the Cougar defense will be tested here. This could be a pivotal play. You hold them to 3 points in this situation, you're still down by less than a touchdown. If Utah is able to sustain this drive and score, it turns into a big play. Egger going to try to keep it, and the momentum over the left side of the line will give him the first down and then some.
3:24 remaining here in the second quarter. Plenty of time for Utah to get the ball into the end zone one more time.
They've already burned their timeouts, however. But with 3:24 in this situation, they're in pretty good shape. Watch here, very simple.
Again, it's called quarterback find the opening and try to shuffle through as far as you can behind either your center or one of the 2 guards. And Egger doing the job. Egger just getting more and more confident. You can tell here in his second start in major college ball.
This drive started on Utah's 23 there at the Cougar 15.
Uh-oh.
A lot of running room. Gerald Johnson inside the 5. Jeff Loomis with a shoestring tackle saving a touchdown.
I'm impressed with Johnson. He's an awfully good ball player. Here we go again. Good blocking. The guard pulling, gets past one of the defensive linemen. Ford gets away, can't hold on rather, and finally Loomis just able to pull off his low-cut shoe practically to get him down inside the 5.
For a guy who really wasn't expected to play, Johnson has done a fantastic job. Picked up 23 hard-earned yards. McEwen, the tight end, in motion. The pitch goes back to Thurman Beard, and he's going to walk into the end zone.
Washington State has their hands full. Here it is again. This is simply good football. Good blocking on the part of Utah, not allowing Brian Ford and company to get outside, and Thurman Beard getting that one key block simply hops into the end zone. Makes it look easy.
77 yards in 10 plays. And while we're away, the extra point attempt, a 2-point attempt, failed. So it is Utah 16, Washington State 7.
I'd like to welcome the participants of the Black Student Parent Day Conference that was held on campus today. Special thanks goes to the Utah State Board of Education and the Center of Ethnic Student Affairs for a job well done.
Thurman Beard's 4-yard run capped a 77-yard drive for Utah. 2 minutes 35 seconds it took them to go those 77 yards to build a 16-7 lead. 2 minutes 38 seconds left to go here in the first half for the Cougars to try to get some momentum back here. Andre Guardi set to kick off for the Utes. A short kick this time, and Junior Tautalatasi can have a chance to return it from his own 2. Going to come straight up the gut, try to cut outside, and shakes free to the 25-yard line. So the Cougars will start it on their own 25. And with the explosiveness of the Cougar offense, they can score from this situation.
Well, Bud, I can see everybody sitting at home and saying, okay, 16-7, the 2-point conversion, as you see Tautalatasi bring the ball back. 16-7, okay, that means if Washington State gets a touchdown, they're within a field goal of winning the ball game or getting the lead at least. It would have been 18-7. Yeah, that would have been a major factor. Keep this in mind.
1st and 10 for the Cougs on their 25. Nobody in the backfield. Rippon has time to throw this time and finds his man Rick Chase, who is brought down at the 35. Going to be just shy of a first down, I believe, for the Cougars.
Well, with 2:25 remaining now here before halftime, of course you're going to go into a very wide open defense, one that's a little more liberal, more like a victory defense, and just try to keep the Cougs out of the end zone.
And this is a situation that Mark Rippon operates very well in. He is usually able to operate. In fact, the Cougar offense, in all honesty, seems to look better during a 2-minute quick drill than it does when they take their time. Little conversation amongst the officials. Gentlemen there pointing fingers. Filippo Mokafisi, one of the top defensive players in the last year. We have not called his name all that often. Cougars have tried to stay away from him.
Our thanks to Jim Walden for that. Mokafisi.
They call him Moko for short. This is the only college stadium in the country that has a 4-color matrix scoreboard you had a glimpse of. As Rippon rolls out, finds this man, Cotton Sears, into the midfield stripe. So the Pullman product picks up the first down for the Cougars right to the midfield stripe. And the Cougars, in the hurry up, as you see Cotton Sears running over to his position, wide to the left real quick, pick up yet another first down. 15-yard gain on that one. Rippon making the play call at the line, getting some time to throw now. Finds everybody covered, unloads it, in and out of the hands of Rick Chase. Tough opportunity for the junior out of Olympia, who was on the ground trying to make the catch.
Well, Rippon trying to force the issue that time. He had a linebacker that had a choice, either rush Rippon or go back and cover. So Rippon made the show that he was going to run, pull the linebacker away, and make the throw. There's his numbers so far tonight, over the century mark.
Rippon looking towards the sidelines for the play call. Michael James comes in with the numbers, as you see Jim Walden shouting some encouragement. Steve Morton, the offensive line coach there. 2nd and 10 for the midfield strike. Kittrick Taylor, the lone wide receiver to the left. Chase comes in motion to the near side. Rippon with the quick drop. Dangerous pass, but Taylor makes the catch and is finally run out of bounds. Tell you, Clarence Fields, had he been a bit quicker, could have picked that one and gone a long way, but the Cougars were able to take advantage of the inexperience of Fields, the backup, in place of Mike Jones.
Well, the big key here is simple. Taylor was able to get the first down plus get out of bounds. So Washington State still with 1:58 to work with, and they are getting deeper and deeper on the 37 of Utah.
And the Cougars have 2 timeouts remaining in their arsenal in this first half. As you see Mark Rippon looking over the things at the line of scrimmage. Michael James will go in motion. Kittrick Taylor, the receiver, to the far side. Ruben Mays, the lone back, gets it on the draw, gets a couple of nice blocks, and he's down to the 26-yard line. A couple of good blocks that time. Mike Dreyer able to throw a nice block. Ian Linder did a good job, too, as you see Mr. Mays, who's had a busy first half.
Let's watch the blocking. Look at number 77, Dreyer. He was really a key man on that. He was able to get downfield, get away from a linebacker, and make a block. Good job.
In the hurry-up offense, the Cougars moving well. Nobody in the backfield as Rippon drops to throw. Now he's flushed out, has a lot of running room, makes the pass instead, and Cotton Sears cannot hang on. Sears was turned around and had to try to twist and turn and come up with the football at the same time, and you can see Cotton not too pleased with the fact that he did not come up with a handle on that football.
Well, it's just basic. He should have caught the football here. It's that simple. He gets open, right in the hands. Does it 100 times in practice.
So you take a look at the Cougar sideline. We have another Utah player down on the field. Perhaps Steve Baker. All we can see is a 7 now. Looks like it's Eric Taylor, the backup nose guard. Taylor, a 275-pound sophomore. As you see Mark Rippon on the sidelines.
Well, second down and 10. They're on the 26, 1:41. Still plenty of time remaining. But as you pointed out earlier, they still have 2 timeouts remaining. So Washington State has got to come out of here with something, at least a field goal, as they're down to the 26 of Utah. It's a second serious injury for Utah tonight.
Mike Jones already taken off the field, and he is in the locker room, and you hate to see this, but here comes the stretcher once again.
Judging by the way they're looking at him, it appears to be something like getting his bell rung, something along those lines. They're not attending to one of his knees or ankles.
We told you earlier that Mark Rippon had moved into the number 4 spot on the Cougar career passing ladder, surpassing Bob Newman. Rippon, if he continues on this pace, will end up in the number 3 spot. He's got a chance to get by Jerry Henderson. As you take a look at Del White chatting with the Cougar defenders, you can see Chris Dyko, number 68 there, the redshirt freshman out of University High School in Spokane. 1:41 left to go in this first half of play. And Utah with a 16-7 lead over Washington State. As we see Eric Taylor being wheeled off of the field. The second time we have seen this. Mark Rippon over and shakes his hand. Continue on with what we were talking about Mark Rippon. Rippon now has also passed Ricky Turner on the career total offense charts. Rippon is now number 3 on the career total offense charts for Washington State University. So John Payton, number 92, the nose guard. You can see him looking over the Cougar huddle there. We'll see an awful lot of action the rest of this evening because of the fact that Eric Taylor will be out of this contest the rest of the night.
Well, Payton is still really the key veteran. As you see passing yardage, Payton's still the key veteran for this defensive line for Utah. He's been around a number of years, 3-year letterman as a matter of fact.
Second down and 10 from the 26-yard line. Rippon with the back split behind him. Going to hand it off inside, fake the handoff inside, and give it to Kerry Porter, who breaks a couple of tackles and just bowling his way down. What an effort by Kerry Porter to get inside the 20.
That's some of the best running I've seen Kerry put together this year when it comes to sheer effort. Absolutely great job. He dragged about 4 or 5 red jerseys behind him. I hope we can see more of that coming up tonight.
Lost his hat on that one. Somebody trying to wrap him up. Picked up the headgear instead.
That Kerry still looking for those close-ups on television. I know. Here we go. He's going to the left side. Great job of faking on the part of the offense. Now watch this. There's one guy. He misses him. There's 2. There's 3. He's got the whole student body with him. Nice job by Kerry Porter getting down near the 20-yard line.
There's Curtis Sampson talking things over with the Utah defense as we see the pitch this time to Kerry Porter.
Gets around the side.
Nice block there by Ian Linder.
Gets away from a number of people. Look at this. That's not really face mask, though. He went for the whole head, even though the right hand is there.
That was our friend, Filippo Mokafisi.
Out of Salt Lake City.
A lot of NFL scouts drooling over that young man. He is hoping to become the first Tongan to play in the NFL.
Okay.
3rd down and 3 for the Cougars on the 20. Minute 27 left to go in the first half. They trail 16-7. A lot of shuffling in the secondary for Utah as Rippon rolls to the right. He can get the first down, I believe, on his own, but a nice defensive effort to stop Rippon. He looked to have the opportunity, but Filippo Mokafisi comes and rolls him down from behind. Clarence Fields came over to help out as well, and Mark Jackson was there.
Here comes the angle now. Watch 46. Great angle on the part of the defense for Utah. They come up as they see the Rippon is going to run with the ball. Here comes 46. And he simply comes in and makes the play along with number 92, the nose guard. Great pursuit by Payton, number 92.
John Trout on to attempt a field goal from the 25, so it'll be a 35-yard attempt from the right hash mark. Trout 1 out of 2 on the season, missed from 37, made it from 19. This one plenty of distance, and John Trout has given the Cougars 3 points. So the Cougars, hoping to get 7 on the board, have to settle for 3, but what that does is it moves them within a touchdown once again of Utah. We take a look at the score. We have just 40 seconds left to go in this first half of play. Utah has the lead 16-10 over Washington State. That last drive, 75 yards for the Cougars, and once again, Don, we see the Cougars moving the ball well in the hurry-up offense.
It was effective against Arizona in the opening drive. Jim Fossil, trying to maybe get some more points. You still got 40 seconds. They have no timeouts. Could be tough, depending on the kick by Trout. But again, that hurry-up offense effective against Arizona. The first drive of the night didn't work so well later on, where they went to their normal offense, but worked well for them there. Simply wide open offense for the Cougs. Mixed it up well.
Unofficially right now, Mark Rippon 11 out of 18 for 139 yards through the air. As you see John Trout tee the football up, the senior out of Southern California. The thing John Trout wants to do here is just plain and simple, kick the football out of the stadium. Number 2, Errol Tucker, one of the most dangerous return men in the nation. You see him back there with Thurman Beard. They are talking about something. Tucker, I'm sure with 40 seconds left, if he can field this football at all in the end zone, he's going to run it out. He went 103 yards with a kick return against Hawaii last week. Of course, NCAA statistics bring everything back to the 100-yard mark. Officials set to go as Trout approaches the football. Gets this one high, and it's going to be about 6 yards deep. I'll bet you Tucker's going to come with it. Decides to sit down when he stumbled just a bit. He's disappointed as himself as he slams the football down. A young man who likes to take a lot of gambles, but decided this was not the time to do it. Cougars go 57 yards in 9 plays. Minute 58, 35-yard field goal by John Trout. Actually, that drive was 75 yards as it started from their own 25-yard line. Mark Rippon finding Cotton Sears, Rick Chase, Kittrick Taylor on passes that kept the drive alive. See what Utah does now as Egger brings the Utes to the line of scrimmage on a 1st and 10. Just 40 seconds left. They will keep it on the ground. This is Thurman Beard. He pushes his way out to about the 23-yard line, and Jim Fossil will be content to keep the football on the ground and go into the locker room at halftime with a 16-10 lead over Washington State. We will see. Actually, that'll be the last play now as they just now start the 25-second clock, and we're down to 20 seconds in the first half as you see Jim Walden and Steve Morton talking on the sidelines. You hear some of the crowd here at Rice Stadium counting things down. They are very pleased. The Utes 2-0, trying to go 3-0 for the first time in a long, long time, since 1947. And they have played a very solid first half of football against Washington State, as Utah has built a 16-10 lead in a ball game that they are listed as a 3.5-point underdog. So the Cougar coaches walking to the locker room, a bit confused, a bit upset over the way things have gone. As you see the Cougars stride off, Jeff Lamson, the young man out of Homestead High School in Sunnyvale, California. We are at halftime of this contest. To look at the scoreboard, it is Utah 16, Washington State 10.
University of Utah Institutional Council, and Mr. Joe Kearney, Commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference. These gentlemen are on hand to honor a very special Utah man.
What do you think about just trying to go back and forth through there?
Everybody else seems to be doing it.
Yeah, and they can do it.
Audio's doing it. If they're doing it, we can do it. Yeah, I just mess over to do that.
Yeah.
Down underneath.
To most of us, he is known simply as Bud. When he retired earlier this month after nearly 4 decades of service, it was an end of an era at the University of Utah. Bud was athletic director when the Special Events Center, the Scholarship Box, and the Hyper Complex were built, and when Rice Stadium got its first facelift in 20 years. Bud was also widely known for his work with the U.S. Olympic Committee and in the formation of the Western Athletic Conference. Later, as Assistant Vice President for Athletic Development, he was responsible for a 4-fold boost in youth fundraising. He is enrolled in the Utah Sports Hall of Fame, and last year received the nation's highest honor for athletic administrators. Additionally, he has served on the American Revolution Bicentennial Commission, the Utah Arts Endowment Foundation, Ballet West, and the Salt Lake Rotary Club. Bud leaves an enviable legacy of growth at the university and in his community. Bud is accompanied tonight, as he is everywhere, by his beautiful and gracious wife, Paula. Mr. John Dahlstrom will now present to Bud a certificate which reads as follows. In recognition of service and devotion to the University of
Utah leading
and upon the
Washington State
recommendation of the faculty,
16-10. The Cougars jumped on the scoreboard first in this contest, and then Utah comes back with the field goal, the touchdown, and then yet another touchdown to take the lead before the Cougars finally on the last drive able to move into field goal range. Been kind of an up and down first half, Don.
Cougars came out rather slowly, actually. I think Utah came out and pretty excited about this ball game. They're undefeated. You got to remember, it's a big factor. You've got a team playing under a new head coach like Jim Fossil, and they are 2-0 with a very, very big win over in Hawaii, and they're coming in to play a Pac-10 opponent with a wide open and very famous. But definitely, the field position has been horrendous for the Cougars, as Bob referred to, starting from their own 1 on a couple of different occasions. So Washington State should be kicking off because Utah winning the toss at the beginning of the game, electing to defend a goal. So Mr. Trout and company will be heading out for the Cougars. Number 4 being John Trout. And back to receive again will be that constant danger, that being Errol Tucker, number 2. And a 100-yard return for a touchdown last week against Hawaii.
And the last time the Cougars kicked off, Tucker caught the ball about 6 yards deep in the end zone, was going to bring it out, but then stumbled and had to set it down, and he was disappointed at not being able to bring it out. So I'm sure we're going to see Mr. Tucker going after whatever he can as you see the Utes come back out. Utah nursing a 16-10 lead as we make our way into the second half of this contest.
And again, a reminder, Utah, since September of 1980, they have gone 23-3-1. Very, very tough to win a ball game in here if you're the visitor.
In fact, the only team that they have lost to here, BYU. The Cougars have come in 3 times and come up with victories over Utah, but otherwise the Utes perfect here in Rice Stadium.
So John Trout ready to kick off here starting the third quarter. We're at 16-10. Utah with the lead. And here we go. This time it'll go to Reggie Richardson in the end zone. He'll bring it out to the 5, to the 10, and finally racked up at about the 12-yard line. And that is where the Utes will start business here in the second half. Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is the Cougar Sports Network. For the Utah offense, again, Larry Ager will be starting at quarterback in his second major collegiate start after being an All-American at the junior college level last year down in California. The handoff very quickly inside to, I believe, Eddie Lewis, who gets all the way out beyond the 25 near the 28-yard line. Eddie Lewis, the 5', 649-pound senior, a 3-year letterman out of Van Nuys, California. Tough to grab those short guys, 5'6", 149.
Just a quick hitting play by Utah that time, and they caught the Cougar defenders not quite ready to get started. Lewis moves all the way out to the 29 and picked up 17 yards on that first down play.
First and 10 from their own 29 as they come out of the huddle. Lewis again in the backfield alone. Hardy wide to the left side, and Ritchie to the right. 2 wide receivers. They fake the pitch. Hager to throw, and now Hager to scramble. One Cougar trying to get him, and finally he's knocked out of bounds there by Jeff Loomis back near the 17-yard line. So some nice defensive moves, good containment on the part of the Cougars, and good coverage in the secondary.
I was a little surprised that time that Hager just didn't unload the football. As we will see, he had an opportunity just to get rid of it and throw it away as he tried to go to the right, and all of a sudden comes back into your living room. But he had a second or two here as Mike Beasley's chasing him that he could have got rid of the football and gotten it back to the 29, but instead it's all the way back to the 18.
Had no one to throw to, so it's second down and 21 on their own 18. Hager again to throw. Pretty good pressure. Got a man, but couldn't hold on. I believe that was McEwen, who is the backup tight end that often lines up in a slot position. But wait a minute, we've got a flag, and it came along the line of scrimmage. Some nice pressure by the Cougar front. Force them. And it is a hold. I would imagine they'll take it too, bud.
I would think so in this situation. And getting back to that defensive coverage that time, you saw a nice play by the freshman Artie Holmes, who just separated McEwen from the ball as the tight end tried to make a leaping grab. Holmes was going to have nothing of it.
Jim Walden trying to make it 2-0 against Utah. Battling against Jim Fossil, the head coach in his first year at Utah, and he is 2-0 in this young 1985 season. So Hager again, back at quarterback. Did not start the first game of the year against Boise State. Wants to roll out right. Looks across the middle, has a man. A lot of Cougars there, though. Oh, I'm surprised he threw that when he had three Cougars standing around his intended receiver, Lauren Ritchie, number 23. Ron Collins in there. Also number 27, Dean Tarulia. Good coverage on the part of the Cougs. And so the punter, Hank Mundaka, will have to come out, the senior, and punt for Utah.
So the Cougars in that instance declining the holding penalty, taking the down away from Utah, and it pays off as Mundaka has to punt it away to Kittrick Taylor.
Taylor awaits Mundaga's punt. Standing inside his own 5. Low punt. Taylor from the 40. Gets to his 45, got a flag down. Right at the point of the tackle where Taylor was brought down on his own 45-yard line.
42-yard boot that time by Mundaka, and we see the officials conferring, and it is once again another clip called against the Cougars, and they have been hurt on the runbacks. The excellent kickoff return by junior Tautalatasi was called back on the same flag.
Well, this really hurts because for once they were able to get some decent field position. Instead of being on their own 45, now the Cougars have to start back on their own, just outside their own 30, 31-yard line. And Jim Walden, yeah, not happy to see it, of course. 13:58, only a minute gone by here in the third quarter. 16-10 Utah. Washington State with a chance now to go to work offensively. From their own 31, two receivers wide to the left. Ooh, inside, they try to go with a simple dive. But Mark Jackson, the linebacker, coming up. I was a little surprised he hit him so quickly. I was looking for a defensive lineman, but it was Mark Jackson coming from the linebacker position.
Jackson just punching his way in there and greeting Porter right at the line of scrimmage. A loss of a yard on that play for the Cougars. Once again, the quick hitting plays inside just have not been working. When the Cougars have had success running the football inside, it has always been on a delay.
Make it a loss of 1. Second down and 11 from their own 30. Split backs, Rubin and Porter. Quick setup. Pass outside. That going to number 85 again. Bircher back into the ball game, the wide receiver out of Richland. And he is out near the 40-yard line, short of the first down. So it should be third down and 1 for Mark Rippon and the Cougars. Bircher getting a pretty good workout today. Playing quite a bit of the first half. Big play, 3rd and 1 from the 40. First man through. Mays has it and then some. So he has the first down and up near the 45-yard line of Washington State. So that's where they originally had the ball until the clipping penalty was called, which put them back on their own 31.
Cougars did a nice job with the misdirection on this play. As you will see, the flow starts to the right. Mays cuts back to the left inside. and picks up the necessary first down yardage.
So Washington State from their own 44. They continue this drive that started on their own 31. Kittrick Taylor, number 8, going to his left. A little bit of a counter, but guess who? Number 46, Filippo Mokofisi, the 3-year letterman, the senior out of Salt Lake City, the man with the primary tackle.
Bob Jenkins in there as well, and
yes.
Realistically, if you look at that play by Utah defensively, the textbook way to defend the option. They had every angle cut off for the Cougars.
If your cornerback comes up and covers the pitch man and your linebacker's there as well as your defensive end, you're right. Then it's a clinic. So it's 2nd down and 10. From the 44 for Washington State, they lead. To check that, they trail by 6. James in motion. Fakes the pitch. Looks deep. He's got James along the sideline. Has his man beat. Michael James all the way down to the Utah 15-yard line. We have a flag down, and I believe so is Mark Rippon right next to him.
Mark Rippon was hammered after the play. I did not see who made the hit, as perhaps we'll get a chance to see it here as Rippon, with the beautiful fake, set it up. You can see James was wide open, and it was Bob Jenkins, number 52, who just leveled Rippon after the play. And that is something that the Cougars can ill afford right now. Mark Rippon on his back at the 33 as we take a look again.
Yes.
You just can't see Jenkins, but you can see the momentum was definitely going to carry him in as Michael James, with some excellent concentration, gets the catch and the football at the 15. So a big play for the Cougars, but a lot of concern now after that 39-yard pass play as Mark Rippon is still on his back.
Officially the call being roughing the passer, so we have that in the record books. Jim Walden out talking to the head referee right now, as a matter of fact, on his own 43-yard line, or Utah's 43. Mark appears to be all right. I would imagine he got his bell rung. And guessing from there, we couldn't see it on the replay as we look at Mark, is that he probably got a helmet in his face. And a defensive lineman can no longer do that, to go up and deliver that blow with a head right into a quarterback in that case.
Looks like Ed Blunt is going to see his first action of the year as Mark Rippon comes out, shaking the head around just a little bit. And he's got a little bit of a smile on his face, so I think he's happy over the completion. He'll get the ring out of his ear. Here we go.
Here's the actual hit. Now watch this. There's a helmet right into him. That's a no-no. So it's 1st and 10 for Washington State, down on the 15-yard line. Blunt at quarterback. Ed Blunt. He's a junior and a 2-year letterman. Go to the right side. Kerry Porter trying to find some room. Beams and wobs and gets inside. And they're calling a fumble. Let's see who they give it to.
Jim Walden is not a happy man. That football was caused by Porter hitting the ground, and the initial indication was they were going to give the football to Utah. And if they do, you're going to see Jim Walden go crazy.
Well,
and he's out there right now. Look at Jim Walden. He's going to have a penalty called on him, and he does.
Well, of course, that's not a fumble. If the ground cannot cause a fumble. It's in the rule books. It's that simple. If the ball hits the ground, when you go down, it is not a fumble. The ground cannot cause a fumble, and that is the point Jim Walden is making right now.
Well, I have never seen Jim Walden this upset with an official before. He has never jumped on the field like that, to my knowledge. And look, he is just going after the official. He is not happy at all with the turn of events right here. Gary Gagnon not having his words with the official as well. Let's get a look at it. The pitch by Blunt, you know that the Cougars would keep it on the ground with the quarterback change. Porter works his way outside. The nice block there on Reggie Richardson, and Porter looks to have some running room. As we see Kerry put his head down looking for the hit, and it's Clarence Fields who upends him. And watch very clearly, the ball pops out as Porter hits the ground.
Well, judging by those pictures, that should not have been a fumble, because the ground, as I said, cannot cause a fumble. Eddie Lewis, anyway, for Utah, moves the ball up to the 30-yard line. Gain of about 4 for Lewis. Lewis getting a lot of action due to the nagging injuries of Eddie Johnson, who has a bruised knee, had that earlier, and then a bruised shoulder. So Utah dodging the bullet that time, and Washington State had something going. They started back on their own 31, got down to the 15 of Utah, and then the fumble. 2nd down and 6 for the Utes. Egger, engineering the offense, been there all night. Split backs in the backfield. Go right with Lewis. Collins challenges the interference. He gets around the corner. First down for Utah as Lewis goes out of bounds up near the 38-yard line. 11:05 remaining in the third quarter. And Utah still holding on to that 16-10 lead.
Nice pickup on that play by Eddie Lewis, but the man he can credit with the gain is Don Logan. Let's see number 59 with the block right here, out leading the way, and a beautiful block just levels Ron Collins. Rob Cleveland with the chase and can't make the arm tackle. Finally, Ben Carrillo with some help gets him out of bounds.
And I'll tell you, Collins did a good job, though, because that's his job, to go up and wipe out the interference. The trouble was there was no cornerback there or flow by the linebacker to help out. Here's the quick draw. This time they go to Thurman Beard, number 22. They call him Juju here in Salt Lake City. Out of Oxnard, California, the senior.
Awful lot of Southern California players on the roster of this Utah team.
A lot of JC transfers, too. Many for Jim Fossil. You see him there.
The junior college transfers always, not always, but generally the sign of a new coach.
Yeah, normally a coach says you don't like to bring in people that have already developed their bad habits. You want to get them as a freshman, and you can form your own bad habits with them. 2nd and 7. Going for Ritchie, almost with a magician act, but can't come up with a handle. So it'll be 3rd down and 7 for Utah.
Egger just overthrew that football, but he made a wonderful fake. After going with the draw on the play before, he faked the draw this time, and it just froze everybody for a half step on the Cougar defense. Eric Howard was coming in pretty quickly, then had to slow back.
With a 3rd and long situation, 3rd and 7, Krakowski comes out, as does Loomis, so you've got a little bit more in the secondary department. Artie Holmes, rather, coming in there to help. Member of the secondary. 3rd and 7. Here comes the rush. Eric Howard would have loved to have picked that one up. Now I guess they're calling it a live ball still.
That is a live football. Eric Howard should have continued after the football. He thought the play was dead. Perhaps there was a whistle. We can't hear from
we'll
here.
have to look at that again. I thought I had heard a whistle, and the ball looked like it was moving forward on the play. Nevertheless, Washington State successfully holds Utah. Down to Bob Romero.
Don, there was no whistle on that play, and the Cougars should have continued, as Bud mentioned. They just stood and watched. There's no whistle down here on the field. Mark Rippon was just shaken up. He'll be back on the next Cougar possession.
Bonduca's punt, high, towering down to Kittrick Taylor on the 17. Calls the fair catch. And that's where Washington State will resume offensively. So we have 10:06 remaining here in the 3rd quarter in Salt Lake City, and Utah still holding on to that 6-point lead. We'll return in a moment. Back to Rice Stadium. Better than 30,000 people here as Utah holding on again to that 6-point margin. Washington State will have it 1st down with 10:06 remaining here in the 3rd stanza. The play we talked about earlier. Some of us thought we heard a whistle. I guess not. I thought the ball went forward. Here it is. Egger, the arm going forward. Looks like Holmes coming around from behind. No. Looks like Holmes is the man who got the ball going forward. Let's move back to live action. As you see, Reuben Mays with a nice gain up beyond the 25-yard line, about the 28 of Washington State.
That is the first time in the 2nd half that the Cougars have had a decent gain on 1st down. They had been struggling on the 1st down plays, and that will make the 2nd down play call an awful lot easier. It's 2nd and about a half a yard.
Did it look like that to you? Holmes knocking the ball loose?
Really did. Egger's going to field that one in the morning.
Yeah. Here's Rippon. This time again going to Reuben Mays easily for the 1st down. He had 2nd and very short. So Washington State trying to get something going here. A lot of time, 9.5 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. And Mays very slowly and steadily beginning to pick up a few numbers here. Yardage-wise.
Right at about the 85-yard mark. I'd say 93 now unofficially for the evening.
1st and 10 for the Cougars. Neither team has scored here in the 2nd half. Ball on the 36 of Washington State. The fake and the keep by Rippon. Big man, tough to bring down when you're 225 pounds. Had his bell rung earlier, but he's back out there and gets into Utah territory.
Couple of keys the last couple of plays. The Cougars have been able now to move things inside as we take a look. Cougars have been able to use the quick play inside where it wasn't working before. It is now. Now watch Mark Rippon. He knows he's going to get hit here after he breaks his tackle on Mark Jackson. Wraps the football. Very smart thing. Mark has had some problems early in the season. That time wrapped it up.
Jim Walden talked about that in our preview show yesterday. He says he's got a little paranoid. Got to wrap that ball up, and I don't blame him. 1st and 10 with the 49 of Utah. To throw is Rippon. He's got a man. Ruben Mays on the right side. Bogofisi was the man defending, and it sneaked through the arms of number 36, Ruben Mays.
I could see Mark Rippon on this play going, do I throw it or don't I? Do I throw it or don't I? Mokafisi running step for step with Ruben Mays, but at his back to the quarterback, and Mays almost making the difficult catch because he was screened off from the football.
Second down and 10 for Washington State, still on the Utah 49. 8:48 remaining in the quarter. Quarter number 3. Rick Chase back into the game in motion. They go to the right side again. Mays. Gain of about 5 yards. Ricky Wilson making the stop, coming up from the cornerback position.
Get a chance to look at this play as the Cougars try to go outside. The quick pitch out to Ruben Mays has some running room. Mike Dreyer tries to take out Wilson, but Wilson able to go underneath and pick off Ruben Mays.
Wilson, 5'10", 180-pound senior, out of, again, Southern California. Third down and 5. Again, Chase in motion. And again, they go to the right side. This time it's Junior Tautelatasi, gets all the way down to the 20, inside the 20 to the 18 before Mark Jackson and company are able to bring the man down. Nice run by Junior Tautelatasi of Washington State, the senior. He's getting a great workout. It's the first time from scrimmage that he has played, and that being in this game, that is.
Pick up of 26 yards on this play as we take a look. You have to feel sorry for this guy. A senior, very talented young man out of Alameda, California, but when you have the running backs that have been in front of him during his Cougar career, it's awfully tough to gain some playing time.
Back to live action. Bircher in motion. This time it's Kerry Porter. They're working on that right side a lot now. Thought earlier maybe there was a flag down, but it was a towel belonging to Errol Tucker. It'll be second down. Very little on the gain as Porter goes to the right.
As we've been seeing, that quick pitch, Kerry Porter this time wrapped up from behind.
Jenkins playing quite a game.
He really is.
Offensive tackle or lineman that has made the conversion over to defense in only 1 week, and he has been involved, to say the least. Second down and 10. Oh, the wide open field for Junior Tautelatasi. Some amazing blocking. And again, we said there were going to be times when Utah would be taking chances defensively. I think they caught him in a stunt that time, and you could have driven a semi through there to make that touchdown.
That hole was so big, I think a couple of the Cougar cheerleaders there could have run through for the score themselves. But Junior is a happy man.
Junior Tautelatasi has now tied the game up. We're at 16 apiece with 7:09 remaining in the third quarter. Trout now to attempt to put the Cougars ahead. He has 8 straight conversions. Let's make it 9 now after 2 today. And Washington State now with a slim lead at 17-16. And some great rushing, some great offensive work blocking-wise for Washington State. That touchdown, amazing. And again, I think it was a case, Bud, of catching Utah in a stunt, and the trap was right. Wide open hole, 3 yards wide.
We'll take a look now at the first career touchdown for Junior Tautelatasi. They have the beautiful fake. Look at, no problem whatsoever. Junior's looking around saying, wait a minute, somebody should be here, and he just waltzes into the end zone.
Ladinas really with the key block to center. Let's go down to Bob Romero.
And the other thing that helped a lot on that touchdown is Mark Rippon not only throws the ball well, he executes excellent fakes. He faked to the other side as if they were going outside, and you can see the defense shift a little bit, and it was wide open up the middle, and Rippon also uses a play fake very well. Great ball handling by Mark Rippon.
7:09 remaining. There's the drive for you. 8 plays, 82 yards, and ate up a healthy 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes. And again, we're back to that same synopsis. We've got Errol Tucker waiting on the kickoff as John Trout tees it up. But
last year against Utah, the Cougars were able to run the football very effectively, well over 200 yards, as we see the kick return specialist, Errol Tucker, and Mr. Richardson. But the Cougars on the ground. Tautelatasi, 3 carries, 44 yards. Porter has 57, Mays 98, and Rippon 21 unofficially.
Getting help from everyone. Trout ready to kick off. The senior's boot, and it is a deep one to Tucker. He won't even touch it. Hits the crossbar. So we'll move it out to the 20, and Utah has a chance now to grab the lead. They are down by 1, 17-16. The game against Hawaii was a real seesaw battle. So Utah is used to that. They had a slim, very tight lead, very close game against Boise State, where they finally won it by 3, 20-17. Guardy, the kicker, with the winning boots. And again, the same against Hawaii. Guardy, the star, getting that three-pointer to win the game with literally no time remaining on the clock. A 19-yard field goal. 1st and 10 from the 20. They go to Lewis, coming to the left side. Some good blocking. Lewis up around the 30-yard line before finally Rob Cleveland and a host of other players knock him out. Jim Pennick in there, number 99. A lot of defensive linemen in there.
Cougars playing a lot of people again on defense. You see the nice block. Jeff Loomis fights it off, but just a step behind Mr. Lewis. Cedric Brown,
Kevin Thomason
in on the stop, but not before the first down for Utah.
First down from the 30 for Utah. Plenty of time to work with. 6:50 remaining in the third quarter. Long ways to go yet. Lewis. Cougars there. I believe that is, let's see, should be Ron Collins. I believe it is, number 25. He's played a whale of a game on that left side here in the second half at least. Came up and knocked out a number of the blockers on one of the sweeps, and this time he actually got to the golden nugget. Got the ball carrier. Ron Collins.
Let's see Collins come in from the outside here. Lewis trying to cut outside. Collins forces him inside and makes the tackle. Most coaches be happy with one or the other. Collins does them both.
2nd down and 10. No gain on the play from the 31. This time they give it straight to Lewis in a huge hole. A block this time, gets a good block. Gets down near the 40-yard line of Washington State, and that is where he'll go out of bounds. Cedric Brown, along with Beasley, knocking him out, number 97.
Take a look at the pickup again. You're going to see a beautiful block by James Hardy. In fact, he will block 2 Cougars, Kevin Thomason and Cedric Brown. They get turned around, and Lewis has plenty of room, and the tackle made right in front of Cougar coach Jim Walden.
Hardy doing a good job of just screening those people out long enough for Lewis to get more yardage. I don't think he ever did hit either one of them.
Not really.
A good screen at least to keep him tied up. First down and 10 from the 38 now of Washington State, and here comes Utah. One man in the backfield. That's Beard. Hager wants to go deep, has a man, Jenkins, but it's out of bounds. By the way, number 1, Jeff Jenkins, is the brother of Alfred Jenkins, the starting quarterback for Arizona. That's the first time we've seen Jenkins involved in a play tonight.
Is very speedy, and they just tried to stretch things out that time. What's been interesting is Utah's moved the ball through the air primarily against Cougars. They came out, tried to run it a little bit. The first 2 series were not successful. They come out this time and run it very well.
For Mr. Hager, it is 2nd down and 10 on the Cougar 38-yard line. Washington State by 1, 17-16. If you just joined us, we're in the third quarter. Big hole on the right side. Number 29, Gerald Johnson, all the way down inside the 20-yard line of Washington State. We expected a game similar to this. 42-40 was the final last year. Washington State getting the victory in Pullman.
Just a quick hitting play. You see Kevin Reach leading the blocking, and Johnson just able to outrun a couple of people, Brian Ford included, before Kevin Thomason could help trip him up from behind.
So here come the Utes. 1st and 10. They're on the 17 of Washington State. Single man in the backfield, Johnson. They give it to him. Trying to find a hole. Pretty good containment. We've got a fumble with 2 white jerseys around it. And call it even. It was about that deep where Washington State was called for fumbling. Kerry Porter when he hit the ground, and this time the ball goes over to Washington State on the Utah fumble. So that drive comes to a halt.
Take a look at what happens here as Johnson tries to cut outside. He's hemmed in. You see Mike Beasley there along with Kevin Thomason. He tries to cut back inside, and the ball just popped loose. Looked like Krakowski was able to pop it loose, and I believe it was Thomason who came up with the recovery. Cedric Brown right there also in on the recovery for the Cougars.
So it is 1st and 10 for Washington State. They go to Ruben Mays on the left side, trying to get out territory of his own territory. The ball is knocked loose, and Utah picks it up. In the first half, Washington State had 2 fumbles, lost none. In the first half, Utah had 1 fumble, and they did indeed lose it. And now both teams having troubles finding the handle here in the second half. 2 fumbles now for Washington State, losing both of them. And that hurts, especially when you now give it up on your own 21.5-yard line. First down and 10, 5:19 remaining in the third quarter. Cougars by 1. But they're hard pressed now. Egger looking to throw, goes across the middle. Nobody there.
He was throwing that away to save the sack. Rob Cleveland in defensively with the pressure. Yeah, I would think so. I think what happened there was miscommunication. I think he thought his receiver was going to break back towards the middle. Instead, the receiver broke outside.
Second down and 10, still on the 22, they're calling it, of Washington State. Again, Loomis and Krakowski come out. Artie Holmes goes in, number 19. Some quicker people in there for the pass defense. Second and 10, man in motion. They'll run it. Eddie Lewis cuts against the grain and gets down to the 10-yard line, inside the 10 of Washington State. And it is a first down for the Utes. Eddie Lewis, very short but very fast.
Eddie Lewis over the century mark rushing this evening. Take a look as he cuts back into the big hole. The play designed to go to the left, cuts back to the right. Kevin Thomason and Ricky Reynolds.
Reminds me a great deal of a man Washington State faced early in the year who got over 200 yards. That being Tony Cherry of Oregon. Husky final 29-12. I assume they defeated Houston. We'll get confirmation from our director in there, Micah Jonas. Washington defeating Houston then down there 29-12 tonight. To the left side, Lewis fighting all the way down to the 1.
Say Eddie Lewis made a beautiful move at about the 10-yard line to get by Kevin Thomason. Thomason trying for the open field tackle. Take a look here. Lewis comes left. Thomason is there to make the stop, but all of a sudden Lewis just comes back. Gave him a little bit of a fake outside, lost his shoe as he got down to the 2.
Little juke, we've got an injury out there now. Another Utah player. No, check that. That looks like a Washington State player.
Indeed, it is a Cougar who was down at the 11-yard line.
Mark Smaha, the head trainer, the man with your back to you. His back to you, rather. 4:30 remaining here in the third quarter. And a very, very close game. I can't say it's a particularly well-played game. We've had a lot of fumbles, a lot of mistakes, a lot of penalties, too, for that matter. But it is 17-16 with Washington State, at least for the time being, holding on to that 1-point lead.
Folks enjoying the contest on a brisk evening in Salt Lake City.
And again, a reminder, next week we will be live from Columbus, Ohio. 10 o'clock Saturday morning. We'll watch Ohio State host the Cougars. Mr. Myers and company should be back in action.
Interesting, Don. Little over 28,000 folks in attendance at this contest tonight, despite the fact that school has not even started here. School does not start until a week from this coming Monday.
We've gotten word now from down below that it is Brian Ford.
No, it is not.
I can't see that it's Brian Ford. Because
not Brian Ford, who was injured on the play. It is
all right, it's Jim Krakowski, then, number 51.
Who has had the hamstring problems. And that appears to be the problem. A knee or perhaps a hamstring. And he is the guy that Cougar coach Jim Walden is credited with really helping this defense come around.
Jim's been battling those injuries ever since the 1st of August when he came in, fought the hamstring pulls.
Next week on our pregame show, we're going to have a chance to see the Cougar kickers, John Trout and Glenn Harper, working out in the pool, some hydrotherapy. Another part of that are guys who have hamstring problems, leg injuries. Jim Krakowski spent his entire summer in the pool in Bowler Gym, and that is the reason he's able to play. The Cougar coaches didn't think he was going to be able to play this year. His legs were so bad.
The matter at hand, however, second down and goal from the 2. McEwen changing directions in motion. They go to Lewis, and it is wide open. He gets in and meets Mr. Carrillo in the end zone, and that's too late. Flag down.
It's a flag on Ben Carrillo. It'll be assessed on the kickoff. What he did was took out his frustrations on Lewis scoring and pushed him away after he was in the end zone. So we'll get a chance to look at it here. See Kevin reach, pulling, giving him a beautiful block, and Carrillo there to make the stop, but by the time Mr. Lewis was in the end zone. and we will not see the push by Ben Carrillo, but that is what the call will be, and it'll be assessed on the kickoff. And we will see Andre Guardi on to attempt the extra point.
I've lost track. What is that, about 54 now? This is number 54.
This should be
if he
number
makes it?
54, as he did not have an official attempt last time.
That's right. They went for 2, so he made 1 earlier. That made it 53 straight. And he already has the Western Athletic Conference record of 52 coming into this game, so he just keeps setting a new record every time. 22-17. With this, it'll make it 23. And again, back to that 6-point lead. They'll go for 2, however. Split backs. McEwen in motion. They'll keep it on the ground. This time it is Lewis. Can he make it?
No, the officials say no.
Yes, no, he did not make it. He did not make it. So again, now we're looking at a 5-point lead. 22-17 after the touchdown by Utah. But that man, Eddie Lewis, unable to get into the end zone and pick up a couple of points on that particular attempt. There's your score, 5-point lead. We'll return to Rice Stadium in Salt Lake City in just a moment. There's a familiar sight here in Salt Lake City. The U up on the hill high above campus here. Gorgeous campus. Have you ever been here around the athletic center on the upper part of the campus at the University of Utah? But the matter at hand, Washington State is down by 5 with 4:12 remaining here in the third quarter. Back to receive. Looks like Ruben Mays back there. It is Ruben.
It's interesting.
Along with, is it Cedric Brown?
Cedric Brown, usually Junior Tautalatasi back there, but Tautalatasi was in the backfield on the last series, and Mays now returning the kick, even though chances, well, it's a squib attempt here.
Yeah, they'll just let it go very wisely. Nothing tougher than trying to find a handle to a ball that's doing what that was doing. So let's move it out to the 20-yard line. And again, a lot is going to happen before this one's over with. You can just feel it, especially when you look back at last year's game. Your yards rushing, almost a dead heat. Eddie Lewis having a field day today. While on the other hand, Washington State is spreading it out quite evenly between Porter, Mays, and Junior Tautalatasi. 1st and 10 from the 20. 4:12 remaining third quarter. Kitrick Taylor going by. Mays gets a gain of about 4 yards. Out near the 24-yard line, maybe the 25.
First time this year we have seen Ruben Mays and Junior Tautalatasi in the backfield together. Kerry Porter not in, as we see the inside handoff going to Ruben Mays. You'd see Utah really tackling after the football.
Jim Walden in his 8th year. Man in motion, they find a tight end though. Nice play on the part of Washington State as they go to the tight end. Chris Layton. He's the junior out of Spangle near Rosalia. No, that really worked because they sent the man wide earlier. Go ahead.
Layton makes the nice catch. He is the pass receiver of the 3 tight ends. Jeff Lamson and Mel Orchard, considered the blockers of the tight ends.
What made that play work is they sent the running back wide to the right in motion, looking like that swing pattern again. Only this time somebody forgot to cover the tight end. So it is 1st and 10 from the 40. This time they do go to the wide man, and it looks like Ruben Mays found a number of people waiting for him. Number 54, Kevin Polston. No, that is not Bob Romero.
I guess somebody trying to take your job away from you, Don.
Well, I don't want his job, I'll tell you that. 22-17 is the score. 5-point lead for Utah. They trailed earlier after Washington State scored, making it 17-16. On the 2nd and 10. A lot of green in front of him. He has a blocker as well. Ripping up near the 47-yard line and over the bench. And I believe there was a big drop-off there, a ramp going under the grandstands.
Rippon appeared to go over a table with some water on it, and a lot of Cougars over checking out to make sure their quarterback is okay. Of course, Rippon was shaken up earlier in the contest, got his bell rung a bit and was able to come back, and Mark comes out while they're still trying to bring the Utah defender out of the problem. It was Kevin Polston who was chasing Mark and gave him the shot. So we see some work being done on the Cougar bench. Krakowski having that ankle taped up.
He's got a bad toe, too. I know when I was in the training room earlier this week, they were working on it quite a bit.
Turf toe. They talk about an awful lot with AstroTurf.
Very, very painful. I know it haunted Kenny Easley for a number of games a couple seasons back. 3rd down and 3 on the 47 for Washington State. Again, the cutback action. Tautalatasi still going. This man has a hot hand right now. Tautalatasi, and I know many coaches believe in it. When you get a running back that seems to have the hot hand or is on a roll, you give it to him, and he did exactly that here. Junior.
Watch Junior now as he goes into the line, breaks a couple of tackles, and shows that trait that the Cougar running backs seem to have. They just do not want to go down and keep pushing and pushing away. And you see a little bit of a forearm shiver, I believe they call that, by Reggie Richardson as he tried to make the tackle. There's a good look at Junior.
You have to call him the RPMs with Tautalatasi being the T-bar. Takes the dive. Rippon still with the ball as he gets down near the 15-yard line on a 1st down play. That was from the 19. He got down near the 15-yard line. So Washington State knocking on the door again with 2:13 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Reminds me an awful lot of the Oregon game. Both teams moving the football up and down. This time, the reason the score is lower is you see Mark Rippon wrapped up. The fact that these teams have turned the football over. Jim Walden hoping that don't get bugged by the turnover bug right here.
Errol Tucker making the stop number 2. One of the Utes in there. Berger in motion. Again, the quick hitting. Reuben Mays going off right tackle and getting a couple of yards. They need to get inside the 10 to about the 9-yard line for a 1st down. That was 2nd. And they're, of course, in 4-down territory. A field goal, of course, would bring them within 2. And with lots of time remaining, options are still wide open for Washington State.
Plenty of time for some excitement. Mike Dreyer, the senior out of Coeur d'Alene, working on the offensive line, along with Billy Williams, the senior out of Natchez.
So it is 3rd down and 3. Cotton Sears wide to the left along with Kittrick Taylor. Mays in motion. Tautalatasi back in with him. They go to Junior. Spins off a couple of tackers, has an opening now. Oh, he almost was able to spring it into the end zone had it not been for Reggie Richardson, number 21, with a touchdown saving tackle. Here it is.
Junior now over 80 yards as he makes an excellent spin move here to get away, and a nice jump there to get away from the reach of Kevin Polston. As Polston tried to impede the progress, as Junior keeps his balance and
look at that move
gives
against
the Cougars
Polston.
a 1st and goal at the 6.
Nice little juke. Show him a leg and then dodge to the outside. Junior Tautalatasi having a field day today. 1st and 6. Inside near the 3-yard line on the 1st and goal from the 6. 35 seconds remaining here in the 3rd quarter.
The defender once again, number 52, Bob Jenkins. And number 56,
2 more wide receivers coming in. That's how they bring in the plays here at Washington State.
These guys would like to call a couple of plays.
I think it's warmed up because everybody seems to be pretty comfortable. It was very downright chilly for the game, and the wind died down, and it's very comfortable now. 2nd and goal from the 3 for Washington State. They're down by 5. 2 receivers wide to the right. They go to the inside man, trying again, going against the pursuit of Utah, but this time the Utes stayed home. Play been very good earlier.
Cougar offensive line did an excellent job that time, pushing off the ball. Watch the surge here. But watch as Mark Jackson and Curtis Sampson come in and do a fine job to wrap up Tautalatasi.
The two inside linebackers. That's going to do it for the third period. So a 5-point lead for Utah, 22-17. So lots of fireworks coming up in this final section of football here in Salt Lake City. Once again, Washington defeating Houston today, down in the Astrodome by the score of 29-12.
Another score, UCLA playing at home against San Diego State, a WAC team. The Bruins with a 28-0 lead at the end of the half.
UCLA,
Baylor, how about this one? Baylor has defeated USC 20-13. There's a bit of a shock.
That was at USC, I believe.
Trojans will not be number 4 anymore.
So to set the stage for you here at the end of the third quarter, about to begin the fourth quarter, it is 3rd down and goal for Mark Rippon and the Cougars on the 2-yard line. And I got to believe, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not a coach, and I'm not even going to guess. But most coaches, anytime you get inside the 2-yard line on a 4th down, say they were not able to get into the end zone here, that they'll say, wait a minute, it's a matter of pride, try to punch it in. If you don't, at least you've got them deep in the hole.
We're set to go now as you see Mark Rippon making the play call. 3rd and goal from the 2. 15 minutes of football left. Utah leading 22-17. Good part of the crowd on their feet here, trying to spur on the Utah defense. The dive, and he's not going to make it. It is going to be 4th and about a yard for the Cougars. And now Jim Walden has a decision to make, and he's going to go for it, no doubt in his mind, as you see Mark Bircher and Kittrick Taylor come in as they unravel the pile at the goal line. You see Mark Rippon, the quick handoff to Ruben Mays, tries to hurl his way into the end zone and can't get high enough.
Ruben really not a chance to get a good leap going in there either. A good firing off the line by the defensive front by Utah. Here it's simply a matter of pride. They talk about it. It's all attitude. Who's going to win in the trenches? That's what's going to determine it.
Pressure on the youngsters in the offensive line. 4th and 1. Let the crowd tell you if the Cougars score or not.
Why not? Suck them into the inside and then go outside on the pass.
Mark Bircher, the junior out of Richland, with his first touchdown as a Washington State Cougar, and he's a happy young man.
Great job by Washington State. I think everybody was thinking inside after that dive by Ruben Mays. Maybe they thought, let's do it one more time. Even the running backs making the dive in. Not the greatest pass in the world. A great catch by Bircher to come up with a 6.
Well, I think Mark Rippon saw that Bircher was so wide open he was just going to float it. Cougars go for 2. They lead 23-22. They'd like to have the 3-point cushion where a field goal will just tie. The Cougars line up in trips to the right. Now they send 2 men in motion. That is Christensen along with Kittrick Taylor. Rippon's going to throw. And this one batted up in the air. We got a flag, though. Let's see what happens.
Kittrick Taylor thinks it might have been pass interference. Ruben Mays clapping the hands.
Mark Jackson holding his hands up in the air to say it might be a break for us, fellas. Let's see what happens as they unravel the confusion here. Mark Rippon trying to find out exactly what's going on. Here comes the preliminary indication. Holding against Utah. So we'll move it to the 1.5-yard line, and the Cougars will have a 1.5 yards to go for that 2-point conversion.
Well, I think the defensive back tried to grab on a little bit and get a piece of the jersey of Kittrick Taylor's as he ran that little slant pattern. Let's try to watch. On the left side is where Taylor is. We can't really see him. Harold Tucker may have gotten a little bit more than what he was supposed to get.
Kittrick had a little bit of Tucker as well on that one. Let's see what happens. From the 1.5-yard line, Cougars going for 2.
Again, they reset on the left.
Got Michael James, and he just cannot hang on to the football. James was open. It looked like the Cougars had the 2-point conversion. Michael rubbing the fingers as if should have had it, fellas. So now, with 14 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this contest, the score is Washington State 23, Utah 22. off in the distance here over Salt Lake City, as there are plenty of fireworks inside of Rice Stadium, as the Cougars of Washington State have a 23-22 lead over the University of Utah. John Trout set to kick off to that deep threat. Errol Tucker once again. Reggie Richardson also back. Mark Rippon, after a 3-for-8 start, now 15 out of 24 for 191 yards. Tucker 5 yards deep, going to bring it out with Richardson blocking for him. Look out. Shoestring tackle by the Cougars. Looked like Artie Holmes who made the tackle on that one. Errol Tucker saying, that's not right.
I'm supposed to get my 90 yards. I'm averaging 40 per kickoff return.
I tell you, that 100-yard return he had against Hawaii last week, everybody on the Rainbow squad thought that they had him down at the 20. Now we get a chance to look at the two-point conversion. The pass to Michael James, right in his hands. Should have had it.
No defense on that one. He just plain didn't catch it.
So now Utah will try to drive from behind again. They start this drive on their own 21. Larry Egger at the controls, the 6'1 junior. He is moving the Utah offense very well. They also have 200 yards rushing. He throws long on first down. And his man Hardy has got it. Hardy beats Kevin Thomason, Ricky Reynolds, and Cedric Brown. And the fans are on their feet in Rice Stadium.
Not only was it a great job by James Hardy, but Egger throwing the ball. Hardy didn't miss a stride here. A perfect pass, absolutely perfect, to Hardy, who gets all the way down finally to the 23-yard line of Washington State. Well, like we said, this one ain't over, folks.
56 yards on that pass play from Egger to Hardy. First completion of the second half for the Utes, who've kept it on the ground primarily, as they do this time. And Eric Howard gets kind of a free shot that time at Eddie Lewis. Lewis over 100 yards rushing on this evening.
Let's look at the interior defensive line now for Washington State. Howard able to shove him back after the man inside. Really can't tell who it was. Might have been Rob Cleveland, number 67, in there making the initial stop.
Del White, Lindsey Hughes, along with Jim Walden on the Cougar sidelines. Del White calling the defensive signals. 2nd and 10 for the Utes. Egger will throw. Has time. And Terry Shaw with another fine catch.
Well, you can see why this man, Larry Egger, led the nation in junior college passing last year. Really has a fine touch, that southpaw quarterback. Shaw coming across the middle. Beating his man again. Thomason having a tough night tonight. Couple of plays, 2 out of 3 right there. They're picking on Thomason.
Shaw has made a couple of nice catches, as you see. A bundled up Ute fan enjoying things despite the fact that her team trails by a point. And Egger, having some confusion with the play call at the line of scrimmage, decides to use the first time out of the half for Utah. So just inside 13 minutes to go, and you see Egger 14 out of 27, 209 yards and 1 touchdown. So the Utes with over 400 yards in total offense. Tim Mitchell, number 10, in your screen. Folks in Walla Walla area will recognize him. He's a junior college transfer from Walla Walla Community College. You see Brian Biro there momentarily. He was the starting quarterback at the start of the season for Utah, and a conference on the Cougar sidelines.
But right now, I think they're probably saying, what happened to our pass rush, guys? We've got to get in there and get a hand in the face of Mr. Egger back there, who's having a field day. Able to take much of his time and let his receivers get open, and quite often it's been across the middle. They're really picking on the safeties of Washington State. Maybe we'll see a little more blitzing now by the linebackers, even though they're deep in their own territory. Down on the 8-yard line.
Egger had the Utes ready to go, but Ben Carrillo was still over conferring with the Cougar coaches on the sideline as he decided he was going to use the entire duration of the timeout. And now we're set to go. Ball on the 8-yard line, a 1st and goal situation for Utah. That's McEwen going in motion, cutting back. And we finally have the flag thrown as Eddie Lewis spins his way down near the goal line. An indication now from the official, a touchdown.
Well, a big problem right there. Eric Howard getting caught, but he relaxed. He didn't get right back down, even though he didn't make contact, or even if he did, it's a free play for the offense. You've got to get back and still react to the ball. can't see him. He's just outside. See, now Eric relaxes and suddenly realizes, wait a minute, this is still live play. If they would have made the tackle, of course, prevented the touchdown, at least it would have only moved the ball in closer to the end zone instead of being really an automatic touchdown. And that is the hole that they use, as a matter of fact.
Eddie Lewis now with 163 yards in this contest.
Eddie Johnson better get healthy pretty soon. Mr. Lewis is really doing very, very well, number 33. Over the century mark and then some.
Another 2-point attempt here. As Egger rolls and rolls. Did he get in?
Yes.
No signal from an official yet. There is a flag on the play.
Official on the line of scrimmage said yes, but the other one in the end zone did not react, so let's wait and see. If he did, he broke the plane. I don't think he physically got in there.
Jim Walden awaiting the call as the officials have a conference of their own.
Here we go.
Almost looked as if he was saying, yes, indeed, he did break the plane. It won't matter. Holding against Utah.
Illegal use of the hands.
So now we will see, I would imagine, Andre Guardy coming on and kicking an extra point.
Well, we stand at 28-23, Utah. That would make it 29-23. 6-point lead. And you're right, Bud. Guardy coming onto the field.
The interesting thing here, it appears that they have not marked off any of the yardage. Now they finally do.
So it'll go from the 5-yard line. That'll make it a 6-point spread if Guardy, who is virtually automatic on extra points, so 2 field goals or a touchdown and an extra point puts Washington State back in the lead. So neither team really being able to.
I think there's some discussion now amongst the Cougars as to whether or not Egger did actually make it into the end zone, because if the official ruled that he did not make it in, then of course they would decline the penalty. But apparently now they are going to go ahead with the extra point, and Guardy will kick it. Never really did see an honest indication that Egger made it into the end zone. It'll be basically a 22-yard attempt for Guardy, well within his range, and he punches it right through. So now with 12 minutes and 52 seconds left to go in this contest, Utah has posted a 6-point lead in this seesaw battle. 29-23, the Utes lead the Cougars.
Not 2 big plays in the drive for Coach Jim Fossil. The 2 long passes, the second one to Hardy, James Hardy. And those were really the key plays on that drive. Very quick one. And Mr. Fossil not too happy right now, as a matter of fact. The 12:52 remaining, a lot of time. A lot of time.
The Cougars have not lived up to the expectations. As you see Jim Fossil talking with the official, he's not pleased with the call, as you can see. So, let's see.
Here's the rollout now to the left side. Did he break the plane or did he not? Again, we have the illegal use of hands against Utah. He's got to break the plane inside the pin, the left pin, on the left sideline. Looks like he did.
Looks like he did.
Well, no, the pin was on the out that was showing when his legs came by. Let's go down to Bob Romero.
Thank you, Don. You mentioned the key in that a lot of time to pass for Egger that time. He hadn't been throwing the ball much. On the last drive, they ran almost exclusively. The Cougars were getting a lot of pressure on him early in the 3rd quarter. This time they went back to the pass. He had all day to throw, and those passes, of course, the key in this drive, guys.
So the Cougars will start a drive of their own here in this seesaw battle. One thing that's interesting, Don, the Cougars really have not lived up to expectations this year. A lot of people expecting a lot of big things from the Cougars, but I'll tell you what, they're playing exciting football.
Well, it's wide open, like Jim Walden says. Yeah, it's entertaining football, but still, they got to have an offensive line perform before those RPMs can do much. And the defense has got to do much better.
Guardy's kick well out of the end zone, and the Cougars will begin operating from their own 20-yard line. On their last drive, they did that, and they proceeded to march 80 yards for the touchdown with Mark Rippon connecting with Mark Bircher for the touchdown pass that gave the Cougars a very short-lived lead.
Well, you've got to believe now that the Cougars want to keep the ball on the ground, keep Egger off the field. It's that simple. Keep him on the bench where he can't hurt you. So look for the Cougs to try to grind it out.
Still Mays and Tautalatasi in the backfield behind Rippon. Kerry Porter still on the sidelines. Don't believe he's hurt. Junior Tautalatasi having a great game. That's the reason he's in there. Rippon with the pass to Mays. And actually Tautalatasi makes the catch and gets out just shy of the first down.
And I think all of us took a deep breath on this. You saw the linebacker almost pick it off. 54, Polston almost getting a hand on it. Nice catch by Junior. Short of the first down.
Look at Mark Rippon calling the signals as the Cougars break the huddle. Kurt Ladinas, the center. We see Ian Linder on the line along with Mike Dreyer. Back split with Mays coming in motion this time. And Tautalatasi carries the football for the first down.
The clock will become a factor here, and I'd say in another drive or so. There's still 12-12 remaining. Here again, they only need a yard for the first down, and Tautalatasi does the job. So they're on their own 20, check that, their own 32-yard line, 1st and 10.
Junior with a pickup of 3 now with 86 yards. Mark Rippon calling the signals. Going to have Mark Bircher come in motion. The quick pitch outside this time. And that is Ruben Mays who was tripped up. That was a heck of an offensive play by Clarence Fields. He was down on the ground having been blocked by Jeff Lamson and was able to still make the tackle on Mays. As you see the shuttle corps bringing in the play call. Watch this play.
Well, Washington State trying to go short side of the field. Sometimes you can catch a defense sleeping if they think you're going to go wide. In this case, no. Simply good pursuit on the part of Utah.
Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. As we rejoin the action, Mark Rippon finds Cotton Sears, and the Cougars are in Utah territory down to the 47-yard line of the Utes. Mark rolling out to the right side, finding the young man out of Pullman.
Cotton Sears, the cowboy, does a lot of rodeo work, calf roping in the summertime. And this time he is the primary target for Mark Rippon as he rolls to the right. Gives him a lot of time and a better chance to see his receivers. Once again, Washington defeating Houston today, down in the Astrodome by the score of 29-12.
Another score, UCLA playing at home against San Diego State, a WAC team. The Bruins with a 28-0 lead at the end of the half.
UCLA,
Baylor, how about this one? Baylor has defeated USC 20-13. There's a bit of a shock.
That was at USC, I believe.
Trojans will not be number 4 anymore.
So to set the stage for you here at the end of the third quarter, about to begin the fourth quarter, it is 3rd down and goal for Mark Rippon and the Cougars on the 2-yard line. And I got to believe, well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not a coach, and I'm not even going to guess. But most coaches, anytime you get inside the 2-yard line on a 4th down, say they were not able to get into the end zone here, that they'll say, wait a minute, it's a matter of pride, try to punch it in. If you don't, at least you've got them deep in the hole.
We are set to go now as you see Mark Rippon making the play call. 3rd and goal from the 2. 15 minutes of football left. Utah leading 22-17. Good part of the crowd on their feet here, trying to spur on the Utah defense. The dive, and he's not going to make it. It is going to be 4th and about a yard for the Cougars. And now Jim Walton has a decision to make, and he's going to go for it, no doubt in his mind, as you see Mark Bircher and Kittrick Taylor come in as they unravel the pile at the goal line. You see Mark Rippon, the quick handoff to Ruben Mays, tries to hurl his way into the end zone and can't get high enough.
Ruben really not a chance to get a good leap going in there either. A good firing off the line by the defensive front by Utah. Here it's simply a matter of pride. They talk about it. It's all attitude. Who's going to win in the trenches? That's what's going to determine it.
Pressure on the youngsters in the offensive line. 4th and 1. Let the crowd tell you if the Cougars score or not.
Why not? Suck them into the inside and then go outside on the pass.
Mark Bircher, the junior out of Richland, with his first touchdown as a Washington State Cougar, and he's a happy young man.
Great job by Washington State. I think everybody was thinking inside after that dive by Ruben Mays. Maybe they thought, let's do it one more time. Even the running backs making the dive in. Not the greatest pass in the world. A great catch by Bircher to come up with a 6.
Well, I think Mark Rippon saw that Bircher was so wide open he was just going to float it. Cougars go for 2. They lead 23-22. They'd like to have the 3-point cushion where a field goal will just tie. The Cougars line up in trips to the right. Now they send 2 men in motion. That is Christensen along with Kitcher-Taylor. Rippon's going to throw. And this one batted up in the air. We got a flag, though. Let's see what happens.
Kitcher-Taylor thinks it might have been pass interference. Ruben Mays clapping the hands.
Mark Jackson holding his hands up in the air to say it might be a break for us, fellas. Let's see what happens as they unravel the confusion here. Mark Rippon trying to find out exactly what's going on. Here comes the preliminary indication. Holding against Utah. So we'll move it to the 1.5-yard line, and the Cougars will have a 1.5 yards to go for that 2-point conversion.
And I think the defensive back tried to grab on a little bit and get a piece of the jersey of Kittrick-Taylor's as he ran that little slant pattern. Let's try to watch. On the left side is where Taylor is. We can't really see him. Harold Tucker may have gotten a little bit more than what he was supposed to get.
Kittrick had a little bit of Tucker as well on that one. Let's see what happens. From the 1.5-yard line, Cougars going for 2.
Again, they reset on the left.
Got Michael James, and he just cannot hang on to the football. James was open. It looked like the Cougars had the 2-point conversion. Michael rubbing the fingers as if should have had it, fellas. So now, with 14 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in this contest, the score is Washington State 23, Utah 22. Off in the distance here over Salt Lake City, as there are plenty of fireworks inside of Rice Stadium, as the Cougars of Washington State have a 23-22 lead over the University of Utah. John Trout set to kick off to that deep threat. Errol Tucker once again. Reggie Richardson also back. Mark Rippon, after a 3-for-8 start, now 15 out of 24 for 191 yards. Tucker 5 yards deep, gonna bring it out with Richardson blocking for him. Look out. Shoestring tackle by the Cougars. Looked like Artie Holmes who made the tackle on that one. Errol Tucker saying, that's not right.
I'm supposed to get my 90 yards. I'm averaging 40 per kickoff return.
If I tell you that 100-yard return he had against Hawaii last week, everybody on the Rainbow squad thought that they had him down at the 20. Now we get a chance to look at the 2-point conversion. The pass to Michael James, right in his hands. Should have had it.
No defense on that one. He just plain didn't catch it.
So now Utah will try to drive from behind again. They start this drive on their own 21. Larry Egger at the controls, the 6'1 junior. He is moving the Utah offense very well. They also have 200 yards rushing. He throws long on first down. And his man Hardy has got it. Hardy beats Kevin Thomason, Ricky Reynolds, and Cedric Brown. And the fans are on their feet in Rice Stadium.
Not only was it a great job by James Hardy, but Egger throwing the ball. Hardy didn't miss a stride here. A perfect pass, absolutely perfect, to Hardy, who gets all the way down finally to the 23-yard line of Washington State. Well, like we said, this one ain't over, folks.
56 yards on that pass play from Egger to Hardy. First completion of the second half of the Utes, who've kept it on the ground primarily, as they do this time. And Eric Howard gets kind of a free shot that time at Eddie Lewis. Lewis over 100 yards rushing on this evening.
Let's look at the interior defensive line now for Washington State. Howard able to shove him back after the man inside. Really can't tell who it was. Might have been Rob Cleveland, number 67, in there making the initial stop.
Del White, Lindsey Hughes, along with Jim Walden on the Cougar sidelines. Del White calling the defensive signals. 2nd and 10 for the Utes. Egger will throw. Has time. And Terry Shaw with another fine catch.
Well, you can see why this man, Larry Egger, led the nation in junior college passing last year. Really has a fine touch, that southpaw quarterback. Shaw coming across the middle. Beating his man. Again, Thomason having a tough night tonight. Couple of plays, 2 out of 3 right there. They're picking on Thomason.
Shaw has made a couple of nice catches, as you see. A bundled up Ute fan enjoying things despite the fact that her team trails by a point. And Egger, having some confusion with the play call at the line of scrimmage, decides to use the first time out of the half for Utah. So just inside 13 minutes to go, and you see Egger 14 out of 27, 209 yards and 1 touchdown. So the Utes with over 400 yards in total offense. Tim Mitchell, number 10, in your screen. Folks from Walla Walla area will recognize him. He's a junior college transfer from Walla Walla Community College. You see Brian Biro there momentarily. He was the starting quarterback at the start of the season for Utah, and a conference on the Cougar sidelines.
Well, right now, I think they're probably saying, what happened to our pass rush, guys? We've got to get in there and get a hand in the face of Mr. Egger back there, who's having a field day. Able to take much of his time and let his receivers get open, and quite often it's been across the middle. They're really picking on the safeties of Washington State. Maybe we'll see a little more blitzing now by the linebackers, even though they're deep in their own territory. Down on the 8-yard line.
Egger had the Utes ready to go, but Ben Carrillo was still over conferring with the Cougar coaches on the sideline as he decided he was going to use the entire duration of the timeout. And now we're set to go. Ball on the 8-yard line, a first and goal situation for Utah. That's McEwen going in motion, cutting back. And we finally have the flag thrown as Eddie Lewis spins his way down near the goal line. An indication now from the official, a touchdown.
Well, a big problem right there. Eric Howard getting caught, but he relaxed. He didn't get right back down, even though he didn't make contact, or even if he did, it's a free play for the offense. You've got to get back and still react to the ball. Can't see him. He's just outside. See, now Eric relaxes and suddenly realizes, wait a minute, this is still live play. If they would have made the tackle, of course, prevented the touchdown, at least it would have only moved the ball in closer to the end zone instead of being really an automatic touchdown. And that is the hole that they use, as a matter of fact.
Eddie Lewis now with 163 yards in this contest.
Eddie Johnson better get healthy pretty soon. Mr. Lewis is really doing very, very well, number 33. Over the century mark and then some.
Another 2-point attempt here as Egger rolls and rolls. Did he get in?
Yes.
No signal from an official yet. There is a flag on the play.
Official on the line of scrimmage said yes, but the other one in the end zone did not react, so let's wait and see. If he did, he broke the plane. I don't think he physically got in there.
Jim Walden awaiting the call as the officials have a conference of their own.
Here we go.
Almost looked as if he was saying, yes, indeed, he did break the plane. It won't matter. Holding against Utah.
Illegal use of the hands.
So now we will see, I would imagine, Andre Guardy coming on and kicking an extra point.
Well, we stand at 28-23, Utah. That would make it 29-23. 6-point lead. And you're right, Bud. Guardy coming onto the field.
The interesting thing here, it appears that they have not marked off any of the yardage. Now they finally do.
So it'll go from the 5-yard line. That'll make it a 6-point spread if Guardy, who is virtually automatic on extra points, so 2 field goals or a touchdown and an extra point puts Washington State back in the lead. So neither team really being able to.
I think there's some discussion now amongst the Cougars as to whether or not Egger did actually make it into the end zone, because if the official ruled that he did not make it in, then of course they would decline the penalty. But apparently now they are going to go ahead with the extra point, and Guardy will kick it. Never really did see an honest indication that Egger made it into the end zone. It'll be basically a 22-yard attempt for Guardy, well within his range, and he punches it right through. So now with 12 minutes and 52 seconds left to go in this contest, Utah has posted a 6-point lead in this seesaw battle. 29-23, the Utes lead the Cougars.
About 2 big plays in the drive for Coach Jim Fossil. The 2 long passes, the second one to Hardy, James Hardy. And those were really the key plays on that drive. Very quick one. And Mr. Fossil not too happy right now, as a matter of fact. But 12:52 remaining, a lot of time. A lot of time.
Well, the Cougars have not lived up to the expectations. As you see Jim Fossil talking with the official, he's not pleased with the call, as you can see. So let's see.
Here's the rollout now to the left side. Did he break the plane or did he not? Again, we have the illegal use of hands against Utah. He's got to break the plane inside the pin, the left pin, on the left sideline. Looks like he did.
Looks like he did.
Well, no, the pin was on the out that was showing when his legs came by. Let's get on to Bob Romero.
Thank you, Don. You mentioned the key in that a lot of time to pass for Egger that time. He hadn't been throwing the ball much on the last drive. They ran almost exclusively. The Cougars were getting a lot of pressure on him early in the third quarter. This time they went back to the pass. He had all day to throw, and those passes, of course, the key in this drive, guys.
So the Cougars will start a drive of their own here in this seesaw battle. One thing that's interesting, Don, the Cougars really have not lived up to expectations this year. A lot of people expecting a lot of big things from the Cougars, but I'll tell you what, they're playing exciting football.
Well, it's wide open, like Jim Walden says. Yeah, it's entertaining football, but still, they got to have an offensive line perform before those RPMs can do much. And the defense has got to do much better.
Guardy's kick well out of the end zone, and the Cougars will begin operating from their own 20-yard line. On their last drive, they did that, and they proceeded to march 80 yards for the touchdown with Mark Rippon connecting with Mark Bircher for the touchdown pass that gave the Cougars a very short-lived lead.
Well, you've got to believe now that the Cougars want to keep the ball on the ground, keep Egger off the field. It's that simple. Keep him on the bench where he can't hurt you. So look for the Cougs to try to grind it out.
Still Mays and Tautalatasi in the backfield behind Rippon. Kerry Porter still on the sidelines. Don't believe he's hurt. Junior Tautalatasi having a great game. That's the reason he's in there. Rippon with the pass to Mays. And actually Tautalatasi makes the catch and gets out just shy of the first down.
And I think all of us took a deep breath on this. You saw the linebacker almost pick it off. 54, Polston almost getting a hand on it. Nice catch by Junior. Short of the first down.
Look at Mark Rippon calling the signals as the Cougars break the huddle. Kurt Ladinas, the center. You see Ian Linder on the line along with Mike Dreyer. Back split with Mays coming in motion this time. And Tautalatasi carries the football for the first down.
The clock will become a factor here, and I'd say in another drive or so. There's still 12-12 remaining. Here again, they only need a yard for the first down, and Tautalatasi does the job. So they're on their own 20, check that, their own 32-yard line, 1st and 10.
Junior with a pickup of 3 now with 86 yards. Mark Rippon calling the signals. Going to have Mark Bircher come in motion. The quick pitch outside this time. And that is Ruben Mays, who was tripped up. That was a heck of an offensive play by Clarence Fields. He was down on the ground having been blocked by Jeff Lamson and was able to still make the tackle on Mays. As you see the shuttle corps bringing in the play call. Watch this play.
Well, Washington State trying to go short side of the field. Sometimes you can catch a defense sleeping if they think you're going to go wide. In this case, no. Simply good pursuit on the part of Utah.
Let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. As we rejoin the action, Mark Rippon finds Cotton Sears, and the Cougars are in Utah territory down to the 47-yard line of the Utes. Mark rolling out to the right side, finding the young man out of Pullman.
Cotton Sears, the cowboy, does a lot of rodeo work, calf roping in the summertime. And this time he is the primary target for Mark Rippon as he rolls to the right. Gives him a lot of time and a better chance to see his receivers. And Cotton simply brings it in, and Errol Tucker knocks him out of bounds.
The Sears family, a rodeoing family, as you see a look at Mike Beasley and the rest of the Cougar defense. Eric Howard. Cotton's sister is the rodeo queen for the state of Washington this year. 1st and 10 Cougars. Rippon with the inside handoff. Mays picks up perhaps 5 yards. Good surge by the right side of the offensive line that time.
Down to 11:33, so Washington State eating up time like they want to. Rubin this time going through. And find number 56, who was just married last June, making the stop.
Sampson, by the way, says his wife is a better athlete than he is. She is a 6 handicap golfer. Rippon with a long count this time, has trips to the right side. Quick drop. Chase with a nice catch. I'm not so sure Rick knew that ball was intended for him with the 3 wide receivers there. He just reached out and grabbed it.
Well, it was 2nd and 6, and he's just short of the first down, so it'll be 3rd down. Something Washington State has not tried lately, and that's going deep. See if they've considered that, bringing in the plays from the sideline.
3rd and 1 for the Cougars. The handoff on the draw to Mays for the first down inside the 35.
Washington State sending 2 people deep that time. Of course, that's designed to pull the defense away from the play, but I would imagine they're looking at that. I keep watching that clock, Bud. It's down to 10:28 now, so they've eaten up at least 2 minutes here.
As we get nearer and nearer, you almost feel it will be whoever has the football last that could win this game. And Utah, of course, with 2 last-second field goals from Andre Guardy to win games as the Cougars move it inside the 20 once again on Rippon to Cotton Sears, and 6 straight completions now for Mark Rippon.
Cotton Sears out of Pullman. Nice effort on his part. Does a great job of concentrating on the ball. Watch now. He watches the ball right into his hands, and that's the sign of a good receiver. You see that from people like Steve Largent, some of the great pros. Watches the ball right into his hands, into his chest, and then hugs it and holds on. As a couple of Utes try to take it away from him and bring him down.
Rippon now 8 out of 10 in this second half unofficially. 1st and 10 Cougars on the 17 of Utah. Washington State trailing by 6, trying to tie it up here. The counter play. This time, Tautalatasi wrapped up a bit. That's the exact same play that Junior scored on in the 3rd quarter. This time it works for about 4 yards.
Here it is again from the inside. Again, it's somewhat of a counter, just going against the pursuit and the flow of the defense, but people stayed home a little bit better. You know, I've got to wonder, Kerry Porter does not appear to be injured. Maybe he is, but he's standing right behind Jim Walden. And it may be just a simple case that we've talked about of going to the man who's got the hot hand, Tautalatasi.
Well, Kerry has the helmet on, so that tells me he's healthy, and I think he'd be ready to go, and he's itching to be in there. Junior inside the 10 and fights his way to the 6. But you talk about Kerry Porter, you talk about Reuben Mays and Mark Rippon. These guys not selfish. They want to win a football game.
What we have seen from Tautalatasi that's been very good, and that is getting extra yardage after the initial hit of the tacklers.
And here comes Kerry right now as you see Junior Tautalatasi coming off with perhaps a twisted ankle. He has been tackled the last 2 times by the ankle, and perhaps it's been twisted, and Kerry Porter will come in short yardage situation.
Time to measure.
9:11 to go in this contest. Utah leading at 29-23. Utah with 2 timeouts left. Cougars have all 3. Don't forget, next week on the Cougar Sports Network, beginning at 10 a.m. from Columbus, Ohio, it's Washington State against Ohio State. The Buckeyes with another victory today. They are 2-0. They are hopeful that Keith Byers will return. The Cougars would love nothing more than to come out of this tough battle with Utah with a victory, even their record at 2-2, and have some momentum going into Columbus.
Washington State has eaten up over 3 minutes on this drive.
1st and goal from the 7. The back split. And now going in motion as Porter makes the catch for the touchdown. There is not a flag, and the Cougars have used deception for their last 2 scores.
Again, like their last touchdown, as you said, they got Utah thinking inside, or maybe a counter on the inside, and boom, they hit the swingman on the outside, Kerry Porter.
Well, the reason that works so well, too, is the young man from Great Falls is not known as a receiver. If you talk about Reuben Mays and Kerry Porter, it is Mays who catches the football. It is not Kerry Porter, and it works.
That's right. Mays came into this game as the number 2 receiver. Porter not that high, really, as he came in. And Mark Jackson, number 97, saying, oh, my goodness, my man got outside of me.
John Trout on to attempt to break the tie. It is tied at 29. Out of the hold of Ed Blunt. No problem whatsoever for John Trout. And the Cougars have regained the lead in this seesaw battle. We have 8 minutes, 53 seconds left to go in this contest. Utah trailing the Cougars 29-30.
We ask the cooperation of those partners in the area and the stadium to remove their guys as soon as possible after the game. We can begin to the far end of the lot and join in on the dancing. We repeat with no admission shot. The Lady Youth Volleyball team hosts state rivalry in the state is coming Tuesday night at 7:30 at the 101. The ticket stub from tonight's football game will give you free admission to this match. The Lady Youth against Weber State is coming Tuesday night at 7:30. Hyper East 101.
Bud Namick, Don Poyer, and Bob Romero back at Rice Stadium in Salt Lake City. We have had 6 lead changes in this contest. We take a look at the touchdown for the Cougars.
Well, again, it was a simple case of Kerry Porter swinging around the left side and catching the linebacker sleeping. In this case, 97, Mark Jackson of Utah.
That tied it. John Trout's extra point gave the Cougars a 30-29 lead. Just inside 9 minutes to play, and the way these two football teams have moved the football, anything could happen the rest of the way. We had a look at Mr. Errol Tucker, who hasn't given us quite the excitement I think everybody was expecting, and the Cougars are happy of that. Reggie Richardson, also the other deep man. Utah has changed the way they line up. The Cougar coaches were noting that Utah generally only has one guy between the hash marks, and they're very vulnerable for a possible onside kick. But Trout will drive this one, actually kind of squib it, and Tucker's going to get a chance right from the goal line.
Look out.
And he's got room. He cuts outside.
Almost had a seam up the middle that time. But Washington State was able to force him to the outside into people.
Bob Gregory, the junior out of Spokane, able to make the saving tackle. So the Utes have the football to start this drive. So you see Mr. Tucker go to the sidelines. 28-yard line. 1st and 10 from the 28. Cougar defense.
It's up to them, isn't
Spent a lot of time on the field. 6-man up front. They have to be a tired bunch right now. You see Ron Collins trying to set the defense. The pitch goes outside to Eddie Lewis, and he is tripped up.
Carrillo doing a nice job of coming up and at least tripping up Lewis. He's the kind of guy you're not going to get a big piece of him because he's so short and he's so fast, much like Tony Cherry. So just grab anything you can, hopefully a foot or something to trip him up, and that's what happened.
Has that low center of gravity. As you see the Cougar scoring drive, 11 plays covering 80 yards, 3:59 for the score, giving the Cougars the 1-point lead. Utah has the football. 8 minutes, 15 seconds left to go in this contest. 2nd down and 8. The ball is on their own 30. 2 wide receivers split out. Now one goes in motion as Egger's going to throw. Southpaws it out to his man Lauren Ritchie at the 35. And Ritchie makes his way across the 40 before he is finally brought down.
This is something we noticed about Lauren Ritchie looking at the video of the Hawaii game last week. He not only catches the ball well, but he is a very good runner and keeps his feet very well. He is able to take a lot of hits, and here's another good example of that. Makes the catch. Collins is right behind him, and now he keeps his feet. He's able to keep it going, take the blow with the shoulders if at all possible. Here he just drags Collins along and picks up an extra 5 yards.
So Utah moving well as Jim Walden paces the sidelines, putting a lot of mileage on today. One back behind Egger, who will throw. And almost another juggling catch. They say, no, he didn't. Hang on. That was James Hardy, who had to go very high to try to make that catch.
There they are. They better take care of business instead of worried about the camera right now. 7:40 remaining. Oh, only a 1-point lead.
One of the gentlemen we saw there, Mel Orchard, one of the tight ends from Evanston, Wyoming. Probably has a lot of family down for this ball game. There's a look at Egger, 15 out of 29, 222 yards in this contest. Calling an audible at the line of scrimmage now on 2nd and 10. Lewis, the lone back. And it is the handoff to Lewis, and he is corralled. Nice defensive play. Ben Carrillo was there along with Rob Cleveland to snuff that one out and drop Lewis for the loss.
Now you're looking at a 3rd and 10, and I would imagine the Cougars will bring in some extra people. Watch Cleveland. 67 gets off his man. Boom, gets a piece of him and gets the help from Ben Carrillo. That's how you stop it.
Gutty performance by that young man, Ben Carrillo, out of West Covina. Of course, missed the Arizona game with arthroscopic knee surgery. Said the knee's still a little sore, but this is his last year, and he wants to play as much football as he can.
Yeah, middle linebackers are tough.
Deep drop this time by Egger. Throws it at and Ritchie, and hello, Ritchie just hammered at the 48-yard line. Dean Tarullia coming over to make a big hit, and Ritchie is not getting up.
The big key here, too, is the fact they were short. They did not get the first down. Here it is. Watch for Mr. Tarullia, number 27 in company, as he comes across. Good concentration by Ritchie, makes the catch. Hello, welcome to the Pac-10. Well short of the first down. Let's try it again. This is how you walk out of a football game with Wilson stamped across your forehead. Bam. Trying to see who the other man is. It might have been Cedric
Brown. Tough to tell from that angle. Boy, they are really looking at Ritchie.
Yeah, that's
they had a couple of people hustle out right away. One of the Cougars is down as well. The other Cougar who made the hit along with Dean Tarullia.
That's one of the patterns that receivers, of course, dislike the most, and that's having to go across the middle. It takes the most concentration. We all know that. And it takes pretty gutsy people. It looks like it was one of the men involved in the hit. Tarullia is up, number 27 for Washington State, so it may have been.
From the angle that we had and the angle on the replay, we were unable to see who it was. It is down for the Cougars and was also in on the hit. Perhaps Bob Romero was able to pick it up on the sidelines. Bob?
Well, Bud, it looks like in addition to Ritchie from here, it looks like it's also Ron Collins, the other man who's down on the turf. We'll have to wait and see when they separate him, but the Cougar players are saying from here it looks like it is Collins.
We will try to confirm that. You see the people attending now to Lauren Ritchie. This game been marred by the fact that Utah has lost a couple of players already, and they are working on his neck, and you do not like to see that at all. Cougar player also down just to the right of what you were seeing right there.
Well, there was a huge hit. There's no denying that. You never like to see it, obviously.
6 minutes 55 seconds left to go in this football game, and a game that has been fast and furious, especially in the second half, slowed right now by a 3rd down play where Lauren Ritchie caught the pass from his teammate here at Utah, an ex-teammate at El Camino Junior College. And Dean Tarullia and perhaps Ron Collins with a big hit, as you see Jim Walden walking off now.
Bringing out the stretcher, Bud, for Lauren Ritchie. Came into this game the leading receiver for Utah after an outstanding performance against Hawaii. Also scored on a late game touchdown to keep them in the hunt against Hawaii, and they eventually got the victory, as we said earlier. But both players still down. Let's go back a little bit and see if we can tell. Ritchie making the tackle. The nearest to your camera in the white jersey, Tarullia. The man next to him, now we simply can't tell.
Yeah, it is Ron Collins.
Yes, it is.
Number 25. Collins appears to be holding his stomach, perhaps a rib problem there on that hit. And with the stretcher that they brought out for Lauren Ritchie, and with the work that they are doing on his neck and keeping him very immobile on the ground, you have to think it's a neck or perhaps a back injury, and they are now bringing a stretcher out from the ambulance at the end zone of the stadium. And now we see Ritchie getting up a bit, and that is a good sign, because if it was a neck or a back problem, they would not be letting him sit up like that.
I would imagine he just took an awfully hard hit to the head, and have to sit back and wait and make sure all the pieces are still there.
And he's on his feet now and gets a nice round of applause from the fans here at Rice Stadium. Ron Collins is still on the ground, however, for the Cougars. Ritchie able to walk off now under his own power. Not exactly walking a straight line, however. There you see the Cougars holding a 1-point lead, 30-29, as you see Richie on the sideline now. Good to see that he is up under his own power. They're using the stretcher now for Ron Collins.
Schedule coming up for Washington State, as we said, will be at Ohio State and at Oregon State. Back on the field now, they have put Ron Collins onto the actual dolly, and it looks like they will be wheeling him off to the awaiting ambulance down in the end zone. But looking at the rest of the schedule, as you see, we'll be going back east next week. Ron, they're taking to the hospital immediately. Young man out of Kashmir, and sorry to see that. His first year of being a regular for the Washington State defense. And let's hope that he'll be all right.
6:55 left to go in this contest. It is a 4th down situation. Utah trailing Washington State by 1 point. Will have to punt the football away, as you see Jim Walden on the Cougar sidelines. This has been a hard-hitting ball game. We have seen a number of hard hits.
Well, something now, of course, our concern with Ron Collins and Lauren Ritchie, but how is this going to affect the game? We haven't played football for a number of minutes here. It's been quite a while. How does this affect the momentum? Washington State was beginning to gather some after getting that late touchdown and a good defensive stand. So let's see now who comes out of the blocks the hardest and the quickest.
Kittrick Taylor set to receive the punt of Hank Mundaka. Taylor setting up at his own 10. Mundaka kicks it very short, very high. And the ball will bounce at the 30, take a big Utah bounce, and Kittrick Taylor just runs away with it. He made a mistake there. They talked about that in special teams as the ball rolls all the way down to the 1. They told the receiver, you have got to field the punt if you possibly can. And Kittrick Taylor, once he saw it hit, just jammed out of the way. And I think what he should have done is held on in case the ball did take a high bounce like it did. And that ended up costing the Cougars about 25 yards.
We saw number 40, Mark Gieselmeyer, the defensive end, babying that ball down to about the 1-inch line.
Nothing but
Gieselmeyer,
red.
44. And all you do now is just let it go right down to the 1-foot line.
Nothing
they moved it out, didn't they?
Nothing but red shirts around that one. The Cougars with their backs to the wall. 3rd time they have started a series on their own 1-yard line. There you see Mark Rippon, a lot of green in front of him.
And you don't want to fumble right now.
And is Kerry Porter going in motion. Mays tries to get some room out to about the 4-yard line. Utah pointing as if the ball was loose, but no indication at all from the officials.
The reason I say you don't want to fumble, I think we all saw Oklahoma State going against Washington when David Toy got hit hard in his own end zone by a linebacker for the Cowboys, knocking the ball loose, and it became a touchdown. Bob Romero.
Word is on Ron Collins that he has an injury in his spine. Trainer Mark Smaha says it's not serious. They're going to take a precautionary x-ray. He says he has all his feeling and movement, nothing to worry about at this point, but they're going to take him to the hospital and check him out. Up to the booth, guys.
Okay, some good news for the Cougars there. The quick pitch. Fumble, there you talk about it, and Utah has the football.
Why did I have to bring it up? Harold Tucker coming up with a loose ball. Known for his punt returning and kickoff returning, and this time for a fumble recovery. All right, let's see it. They go to the left side. This one looked dangerous right from the start. The pursuit was there, and Porter couldn't even get out of the end zone. There's the hit. The hit by number 41, that being Clarence Fields, who has played pretty well tonight, and Tucker coming up with a recovery.
And all of a sudden, the onus is on the backs of the Cougar defense as Utah has the football. 1st and goal from the Cougar 3 as we see the fumble one more time.
All right, Porter is in the end zone. The defense already coming up very quickly. The ball knocked loose by Fields right there, and then Mr. Tucker does his duty.
Ball now spotted on the 2, they say. Man in motion is McEwen. The pitch to Thurman Beard. He scored once. Is he in? A fumble. The Cougars have recovered it, but they say he was down. So we saw that go the other way earlier where the Cougars lost the ball. Jim Walden was incensed, and now they are saying that the ground caused that fumble and giving Utah the football.
Well, regardless, Jim Walden and Steve Morton, his offensive line coach, watching to his left. It'll still be, as we see the replay now, Beard goes in. It's pretty nice penetration, reaching there, blocking with him. I guess they said he was down. I don't know if he ever touched the grass because he has so much and so many people under him. Still second and goal.
Ball is at the 1-yard line. Beard and Lewis, the backs behind Egger. Cougars with everybody on the line of scrimmage. Egger tries it. His second effort gets him into the end zone, and Utah has regained the lead.
If anything has haunted the Cougars this year, it has been the critical turnovers. They had critical turnovers against Oregon. We had one right here. Now we're back to that 5-point spread, 35-30. Here we go. Here's the quarterback getting help from his offensive line. People like Gary Anderson, Kevin Reach and company. And Egger finally finds the seam and is able to pop into the end zone.
35-30 Utah. I'm sure we're going to see the 2-point conversion attempt once again. They have failed on a couple of opportunities. The backs are split behind Egger. 5-point Utah lead. This could be a very pivotal play. We have a flag thrown.
Probably too much time.
There's nothing showing at all on the 25-second clock. Your guess would be delay a game, and it is. So it's going to make it that much tougher. But if you look at it that way, perhaps it gives Egger a little more room to operate throwing the football. 7 times in this game the lead has changed. We have 5 minutes and 1 second left to go in this contest from Salt Lake City.
The complexion of this game a little different from last year, though, because Washington State had that dominating lead at one point, 42-24, but then 2 quick touchdowns late in the going by made it as close as it was, 42-40. Washington State finally getting the win in Pullman last year.
Looking ahead, the Cougars have 3 timeouts left. This game 3 hours and 15 minutes old.
This is a little tougher now from the 8.
That is Hardy coming in motion. Terry Shaw, the other wide receiver. Beard out of the backfield. They're going for Beard, and he's wide open. For the 2-point conversion, I should say, he beat the freshman Ron Lee, who was replacing Ron Collins. Just turned him around for the 2-point conversion, and that gives Utah the 7-point advantage at 37-30.
Here it is again. Lee, for some reason, looking, he was trying to come up on the man, then trips, and that leaves it wide open for Beard. Now it's a matter of concentration, not getting the whoopies, as a matter of fact, when it's that easy. Sometimes it's pretty easy to drop them.
5 minutes, 1 second left to go in the contest. Utah leads it by 7. You have plenty of popcorn left. 5 minutes, 1 second to go as you see Utah scoring from 3 yards after the Kerry Porter fumble. 49 seconds it took the Utes to regain the lead along with the 2-point conversion. 37-30 Utah leads.
This is Beard. We thought he might have fumbled, but no, he held on to the ball. It's that simple, but did not get into the end zone.
Now as we come back, Andre Guardi set to kick for Utah. Check the deep men for the Cougars. Dean Tarulia is there, Ruben Mays is there, and they let it go out of the end zone. So the Cougars will again start from their own 20-yard line. And the Cougars have been able to move the football in the second half. They have been their own worst enemy with turnovers.
Their last drive going roughly 4 minutes, 3 minutes and 59 seconds. They have 5:01 remaining. I'll tell you, after that Cal game where we scored 3 touchdowns in less than 10 minutes, you would think, yeah, things are in their favor. It may be one of those games where whoever has the football and whoever has the lead at the gun is going to get the win. Let's see.
There's a look from the line of scrimmage. little twist as he makes the tackle.
Well, if he's healthy, I would imagine he'll stay in there. Kerry Porter having his problems, let's face it, with that fumble.
Not been able to hang on to the football the last 2 times out.
Video on 4.
Pickup of 7 on the play, so it'll be 2nd and 3 from the 27. Back split behind Rippon, 2 wide receivers to the wide side. Rippon looking upfield, wanted to get the wide receiver and hits Mays instead at the 30. He was actually looking for Junior Tatalatasi on the pass out and up.
Here's a good job by an upperclassman. Mays that time knew he had to get to the 30 for the first down. That's right where he caught the ball. Now watch him as he tries to turn upfield, not give any ground at all once he makes the catch. Nice eyes, by the way, by Rippon. He gets to the 29, turns around immediately, doesn't give up any ground, and that's a sign of a young man that knows where he is on the field. Nice play by Rubin.
4:40 and counting. Utah leads by 7. Cougars have 3 timeouts, a first down at their own 31. Everybody out on the pattern as Rippon throws upfield and threw it behind Kittredge Taylor. And Taylor could not make the acrobatic catch. Once again, a situation with Mark rolling out to that left side. Very tough for the right-hander to turn and throw there.
2nd and 10. Washington State.
That formation and that particular play, though, is working pretty well for Washington State. It's giving Mark plenty of time, and he's able to see his receivers pretty well. But still 2nd and 10.
Needs the chance to set and fire. Unofficially, Rippon 20 out of 29 in this contest, 362 yards. 2nd and 10. That is Mays. Nobody in the backfield. The quick pass intended for Mays was batted down. Looked to be John Payton who got a hand on the football.
Payton got in there very, very quickly. He's the nose guard. It almost looked like offsides, but just a great job of anticipating the snap count and going on first movement. Watch how quickly he gets around the center now. Boy, that is real close to being offside.
Big play time for the Cougars and the Utes. The Utah fans on their feet.
3rd and 10.
Applauding for the defense. Cougars with 3 wide receivers to the left. Rippon rolls that way. Is going to keep it. Puts the shoulder down, coughs up the football, and Errol Tucker has it. And Rippon appears to be hurt. Rippon is hurt. He was hit by Filippo Mokafisi. Mokafisi and Rippon both down on the field. As you see the Utah fans and Errol Tucker rejoicing. And now you see the despair of Mokafisi and Rippon.
Again, 2
on
people
the carpet.
getting buzzed, as a matter of fact. But Mark, of course, had 10 yards to go. He had to get all the way up to the 40-yard line. Awfully tough doing for a quarterback here, even on a rollout. And I don't know if he had that much room or not. He decided quite early it was time to tuck the ball under and go for it. Boy, he took a tough shot right in the ribs by Mokafisi.
The last 6 times the Cougars have had the football, as you see Rippon emerge from the turf with the help of Mark Smaha.
4:19 remaining, though. This mark is all right.
Last 6 times the Cougars have had the football. They have scored 3 touchdowns. They have turned it over 3 times.
Jim Russell's Coaches Television Show is shown each Sunday at 5 p.m. on KU.
All right, again, the play that has worked pretty well for them, giving Mark plenty of time, decides early that he's going to run. And here come the linebackers coming up. Just a good hit. That simple. Just good, clean football on the part of Mokafisi, giving him the shot to the side. But now it's 4th down. Check that.
First down for the Utes, and the clock a factor. 4:19 to go in this contest. Utah leads it 37-30. So not only does the Cougar defense have to stop Utah from scoring, they have to do it in a hurry to get the Cougar offense the football back. Egger going to throw on first down. Has time. Looking long. The home run ball to Shaw, and he catches it, but he's out of bounds. Ricky Reynolds complaining that he was being pushed, and it bit as he and Shaw were jostling for position. Reynolds did a nice job that time, got the angle on him, forced Shaw out of bounds.
Nice play by Ricky. Wasn't fooled and located the ball. Got his man OB. 4:12 remaining.
Cougars, of course, like that play because it stops the clock and they don't have to burn a timeout. The secondary for the Cougars, you see number 6, Kevin Thomason. Number 42, Ron Lee, the freshman, playing in place of the injured Ron Collins. Ricky Reynolds is there along with Cedric Brown. Handoff to that man again, Eddie Lewis, and he is able to fight his way across the 40. Picked up about 3 on a play that really should have gone nowhere.
Well, again, that's what you like to see out of your running back. Really, Rob Cleveland should have had him dead to rights, as you see Jim Walden trying to get the ball back. It's that simple. 3:59 remaining now, but Lewis running very hard and able to break tackles. That's what you got to have. That's something that we've seen Junior Tautelatasi do for Washington State today. Got to break tackles. You need the block, sure, but sometimes you got to do it on your own.
Cougars have used one of their timeouts now to set the stage for this 3rd down and 8, as you see Jim Walden shouting something to Jeff Loomis, and now Loomis will come over. We also had a glimpse of Mark Smaha, the Cougar trainer, who has been a very, very busy man tonight. 3rd and 8 for Utah. 3:59 to go in this contest.
Excuse me, Bud. We should point out that Ron Collins was injured. They say it is a spine injury of some kind, not serious, that he still had all of his feeling and all of his limbs, but they took him to the hospital as a precautionary move for x-rays. Down to Bob Romero.
Thank you, Don. Word is, if the Cougar defense can hold here and get the ball back, Mark Rippon is all right. He was hit in the hip, but he should be ready to go.
All right, so Mark Rippon will be back to run the controls for the Cougars, and that is good news because they are going to need to throw the football and get the offense going. 3rd down and 8, a key play here for the Cougar defense. Backs are split behind Egger. He will throw. Good rush this time. And what a catch by Thurman Beard, and he's got the 1st down. Egger just had to unload that football, and that play was made by Thurman Beard.
I'll tell you, they raised an awful lot of good quarterbacks about 40 miles down the road in Provo, but Mr. Egger is going to get his share of attention before his collegiate career is over with. Pretty good rush now, but he keeps the concentration. Not the greatest pass in the world. Great catch by Beard, but he gets the job done and gets the 1st down. Cedric Brown able to finally bring him down.
So the 13-yard gain keeps this drive alive, and more importantly, Utah is now in range of Andre Guardi. 3:40 and counting. Utes will try to keep it on the ground. Now Eddie Lewis picks up a substantial gain on 1st down. And right now, at a time when the Cougars can ill afford this to happen, Utah is controlling the line of scrimmage.
Coach Jim Fossil calling a great game right now for Utah, the head coach. And the front line, as you say, Bud, is beginning to dominate. And that clock just keeps a running down to 3:18, 3:17.
There you see a look of that offensive line for Utah that is having their way right now. Egger hands it off again to Lewis, who's been a busy man. Cuts back. Gets away from one tackler, has the 1st down, and keeps going down to the 10-yard line. Cougars just do not have that extra spark on their pursuit. They seem to be just a step shy.
Well, in a case there, it's a case of Lewis simply going against the pursuit. He cuts back as well as anybody we've seen all year. The play's designed to go right. It's not there. Cleveland's there, able to stop it, stop the flow. Loomis has a shot at him, can't get him. And when you're 5'6" and as fast as he is, look at the receivers out there trying to get a block as well. Cedric Brown finally making the tackle.
10 more yards for Eddie Lewis. And unofficially, Lewis now 21 carries, 183 yards. The Utes nearing the 250-yard mark in rushing as a team. 1st and 10 at the 11. This is Lewis again, and he stopped that time. The Cougar defense doing a nice job. Ivan Cook with the finishing touch after Eric Howard had the initial hit. 2:20 left to go in this football game, and Utah running down some precious time.
Oh, yeah, now we're down to 2:15 as you see Lewis there. Nice play by Eric Howard. Wrapping up the legs, which you have to do. 2:07, 2:06.
Clock continuing to run. Cougars with 2 timeouts. If they stop Utah this play, there will be a timeout called immediately by Washington State. The backs are split behind Egger. Terry Shaw, one wide receiver. James Hardy, the other. Quick hand up this time to Beard. He strips a tackle, and he's going to go in for the touchdown. It is going to pretty much wrap this one up for Utah.
Without a doubt, this is the finest set of backs that Washington State has seen. Tony Cherry's been very good. Yes, indeed, Adams from Arizona. But the culmination of the effort by these people, like this man, Mr. Beard, Eddie Lewis, Eddie Johnson, even though he's injured, just some great effort on the part of these people. The ground, again, he lost the ball when he was down, and it was a touchdown by Beard.
Guardian for the extra point attempt. perfect as usual, and it is all of a sudden Utah 44, Washington State 30. And the folks here during the week talked about the excitement surrounding this Utah team, and I'll tell you, they have really sparked things tonight in a game that Washington State had some chances to take control of, but they let it get away from them. And there aren't a whole lot of people who would have expected Washington State to be 1-3 after their first 4 games of the season.
Yeah, we just go back to the same thing, but it's these fumbles that are killing them. The one that really got it rolling for Utah was, again, as you see, executive producer Darryl Blue. The fumbles have hurt Washington State. Your producer, Scott Detlef. And directing down there, Michael Kachonis. Out of the bus, technical director, Al Cutler. And your audio, whole team of people helping out. And a special thanks to everybody here in Salt Lake City helping out for our broadcast tonight.
Brent Johnson handling our statistics for us this evening. Thank Bruce Woodbury, the SID, the University of Utah, Rod Commons and his staff at Washington State University. Don't forget, the Cougars will have to bear the burden of trying to rebound from this contest and take on the Ohio State Buckeyes from Columbus, Ohio next week. Keith Byers expected to be back for Ohio State. There will be over 80,000 folks in the stadium. There should be a lot of excitement. We hope that you will join us on the Cougar Sports Network. There's the story. Cougars trail by 14, 1:49 to go, and they will start a drive from their own 20-yard line, and they have their work cut out for them.
Jim Walden coming into this game had hoped to do a lot of good, I guess you could call it shop work, trying to put things together offensively a little better, especially up on the front line. Had gained a little momentum going into Columbus, maybe with a 2-2 record, but it appears that will not be. I'll have to go back to Columbus. Ohio State a big winner today, by the way, against Colorado down in Boulder.
While the Cougar cheerleaders try to spur the Cougars on to another miracle comeback, the folks here in Salt Lake City very happy over the fact that BYU has defeated Temple 26-24 as the Cougars pick up 8 yards and get out of bounds on the pass completion from Mark Rippon to Cotton Sears.
That win for BYU taking place back east. So Mr. Bosco and company continue to roll, except for the one loss to UCLA.
Utah teams involved in some thrillers today. Weber State apparently has defeated Portland State by the final score of 25-24.
And also, in case you did not hear, Washington did get their first win of the year, beating Houston 29-12 down in Texas.
Rippon back to throw, 2nd and 2 on the 28, finds Kittrick Taylor, who wisely gets out of bounds. Be a first down for the Cougars at the 35.
With only a minute 38 to work with.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for attending tonight's game. Ask your cooperation.
Crowd of better than 28,000, 28,576 to be exact. Utah is a team that's going to be heard from before this year is over with. I can't wait to see a Utah BYU game.
Well, I would imagine if you could be in the stands right now listening to some of these conversations, I'm sure they're talking about bring on the Cougars, and they're not talking about the Washington State Cougars anymore. Kittrick Taylor makes the reception and gets out of bounds again, as the Cougars just taking what Utah will give them, but it's going to be too little, too late, as turnovers have hurt the Cougar cause here in the second half. 3 fumbles, 2 by Kerry Porter, 1 by Mark Rippon, when the Cougars had opportunities to take control of this football game. 2nd and 4 from the 41, 1:32 left to go in the contest. Rippon with the quick drop. And once again, the same play to Kittrick Taylor to the opposite side. And a nice play by Errol Tucker to keep Kittrick Taylor from going out of bounds. And Errol Tucker spins Taylor around, and Taylor's hurt, and Jim Walden's furious.
Well, he's already had that bad ankle anyway, and the little extra twist by Tucker didn't help matters at all. And Kittrick's in a lot of pain now. He had a bad ankle coming into this ball game anyway.
And now we've just had a flag thrown, and I believe it's going to be on Jim Walden. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a very late call by the head linesman, as we get a chance to see the end of this play again?
Kittrick Taylor's the wide man to the left side near the sideline. Makes the catch here. Now Errol Tucker comes up, number 2. Okay, plays over right here, but he gets up and throws an extra twist into the ankle.
You see Jim Walden chatting with the official now.
Still giving him the what for.
And you see Jim Walden chatting with the official. Walden has just been called for unsportsmanlike conduct, as you see Kittrick Taylor being helped to his feet. That is a sight that has been too common tonight, players being picked up from the turf with help. You know, before the game when Jim Walden talked, he talked of fond memories of playing in Salt Lake City. Those memories have been dulled right now.
Well, it's been a frustrating night for Jim. There's no question about it. Had a call later when Kerry fumbled down here one other time when the Cougs were threatening, when he hit the ground and lost the ball, and they gave it to Utah, and that hurt.
Minute 20 and the clock is running. Cougars trail by 14. Rippon going to go upstairs and try to get it here. Throws over the middle and was over the head of Cotton Sears. So that will stop the clock. A minute 13 to go.
Kittrick Taylor now being attended to, and again, it looks like it's that ankle, the right ankle.
Next home game will be
Bad thing to see. Kittrick, an awfully nice young man. Good basketball player, too, for Len Stevens.
He enjoyed his basketball experience last year, but says he will decline on playing on the hardwood. Pretty tough to go to school and hit the books and play football and basketball at the same time. Rippon loses the ball, but gets it back. Now throws up the sideline for Rick Chase, who makes the catch. Chase going to have to try to get out of bounds and breaks the tackle, gets inside the 25 to the 23. Now the clock will stop because of the fact that they have to move the chains forward, so the Cougars will have to be set and ready to go. Well, we talked earlier about the vulnerability, perhaps, of Utah to the onside kick, so who knows? What the heck? Let's have some excitement.
Rippon having to find a handle. He finally does, and then throws down here to Chase. Nice catch by Rick, and now it's time to get around the secondary, and unable to get out of bounds. Doesn't matter anyway, as Bud pointed out. It was a first down.
Took a gamble there. A lot of people might have said, hey, get out of bounds right away, but he was able to pick up another 8-9 yards. So the Cougars right now at the 23 of Utah. 1st and 10, Rippon calling out the play. Clock now moving. 50 seconds left to go in the contest. Rippon with the quick pass, completed to Christensen. He gets inside the 15. The Cougars are going to have to call a timeout here.
Jeff Christensen.
Utah scored 2 late touchdowns against Washington State last year. They came up short, losing at 42-40. Who knows? After that Cal game, I learned to never put anything into my briefcase until the gun sounds.
If things remain the way they are with 42 seconds to go, it is going to be a very, very long plane ride for the Cougars back to Spokane tonight, and probably an even longer bus ride back down to Pullman. Cougars have 1 timeout remaining. 42 seconds left to go in this contest.
Well, the thing that hurts for the Cougars is they're not getting the kind of performance they thought they would. They're creating a lot of excitement, but there's still a lot of problems, and they're getting key turnovers from people they didn't expect turnovers from in 1985.
Well, Mark Rippon has thrown for 345 yards. Earlier we saw that the Cougars had run for over 200 yards. So you're talking 550 yards of offense.
But they're still not coming up. They're coming up with critical turnovers by the veterans.
Right, and you're behind by 2 touchdowns. Make it 1 now as Cotton Sears makes the catch in the corner of the end zone. So the Cougars drive for the touchdown. They will go for the extra point here. They're going to send John Trout out to kick it to try to cut the deficit to 7, and then everybody and their brother knows that an onside kick is coming.
Cotton Sears wide to the left. Simply a down and out, heading for the flag into the corner. Beats his man. I think that's Errol Tucker, as a matter of fact. Got beat pretty badly.
John Trout for the point after.
But again, Utah knows what they've got on their side.
Here's a look
And
from
that's
behind
time.
John Trout as he goes for the extra point. He punches it through, so there are 36 seconds left to go in this contest. And it is Utah 44, Washington State 37. 36 seconds left. Washington State has 1 timeout. So the only opportunity the Cougars have to win this football game, or actually tie it even, would be to recover an onside kick attempt.
And as for the guys in the red shirts, you'll see nothing but running backs and wide receivers up in that front row.
A couple of happy Utah fans. A young man taking in the sights here in Salt Lake City.
And here they come. You don't see a single lineman out there. All receivers and running backs.
This is the hands team. Let's go down to the sidelines and hear from Bob Romero.
And you talk about the hands team. They brought in everybody that can catch a football and jammed them all up in their tight bud. And as you said, no secret, the Cougars just too many turnovers, and it looks like they're going to run out of time unless they can come up with a miracle and manage to recover this.
Thank you, Bob. We'll see now what the Cougars' strategy is here. See if John Trout tries to hit the top of the football, get the high AstroTurf bounce, and get somebody to come down and maybe get Kittrick Taylor in there if his ankle was okay and have him go for an offensive rebound? Or do you try to perhaps drill it off of one of these guys who was up close?
What do we got here?
Interesting alignment. Cougars are going to go right up the middle with it, and it looks to be covered by Utah. And the officials say it is Utah football right at the midfield stripe, so barring Utah making a foolish mistake and attempting to hand the football off, this football game is over, and the Utes know it. All Larry Egger has to do is take the snap, drop back to a knee, and this contest is over.
It was number 80, Craig McEwen, coming up with the ball for Utah. 35 seconds, 1 timeout remaining for Washington State.
So for the first time since 1947, the Utah Utes have a 3-0 record. As Egger drops down on the football, and let's see if Washington State will use its final timeout futilely. And they will indeed do that as Jim Walden signals for that timeout. Clock down to 25 seconds. It is still going, and the Cougars eventually get the timeout call.
Next game, by the way, for Utah will be against Texas El Paso at home.
Not a good sign on the Cougar sideline. You see Mark Smaha handing some crutches to Kittrick Taylor.
Next 2 games for Utah are both at home, so they have a chance of really getting a lot of damage. UTEP comes in, and then Wyoming on October 5th.
Well, you wouldn't anticipate that UTEP would give them much of a tussle.
I don't know, they could be 5-0. Who knows? Where do they go from there? Let's see. Now they got to go to Arizona State down in Tempe. Then they got to go down to San Diego State.
This will be the final snap of the football game. 23 seconds left in this one at Rice Stadium, and Utah is going to come up with an upset victory over the Washington State Cougars. That's going to be it. A football game that we have seen both teams move the football almost at will up and down the field, but the Cougars with key turnovers in this second half of play. The last 7 times the Cougars touched the football, they scored 4 touchdowns, and they had 3 turnovers. And you see Jim Fossil and his crew, they are happy. As Fossil gets the victory ride, we will be back to wrap it up right after this.